it was quite a dark time, I want to say, in my life, and League of Legends kind of like pulled me out of a dark hole. I found it extremely addicting, but in the best way possible. And it was putting me into a virtual world with people that I wanted to talk to, that I wanted to play with, that I was having fun with, and that was the most important thing for me.
You kind of have to choose the dark horse on one or the other games. So mine was...
My parents actually were gamers. So I grew up with a PlayStation 1. I remember myself playing Silent Hill and Resident Evil when I was extremely young, and my mom and my dad would just chill behind me on the sofa just watching me play, and it just grew my passion for gaming more and more and more. Then I had my cousin who played World of Warcraft, so I jumped into the MMORPG side of things.
I think honestly Singularity for the NLC is what...
A Greek organization saw me. They told me that I apparently have a talent for being in front of a camera, a talent for me presenting, and why not maybe casting if I had the knowledge. Casting rang a bell into my head, and I'm like, that sounds really good. I don't think I want to be a pro player anymore. Maybe I can cast. And I thought I was insanely good with my knowledge back then to cast. Little did I know, I dived into very, very deep waters. I learned the hard way that you don't just know something, you gotta study it, you gotta prep for it, you gotta constantly be working towards your goal. That was my starting point. Then 3 years down the line, 3 years later, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. The lights, the colleagues, the atmosphere, the players, the game, it all just clicked together. And from then on, I don't think I have ever let go of the gas pedal. I get to do what I love for a living, right? Like, I get to cast the game that makes me happy.
Oh, Trouble, it was really wholesome. It's really lovely to hear. And great to hear your story as well. Yeah, I think you should be very proud of how far you've come, and obviously it's a pleasure to have you on the desk. And that brings me nicely into how we've changed the desk. We've got Medic and Trouble off the casting desk. They have joined me here on the analyst desk alongside Gulborg, and we are ready to work in that second series. And I think, realistically, let's do a brief start with Fnatic. I think the only way we could talk about Fnatic is pure dominance. They haven't had to change anything. They haven't had to pull any aces out of their sleeve.
See, here's the thing with Fnatic. What you just said is a double-edged sword because it counts as a strength and as a weakness to them. I feel like they're a very strong team in what they like to do, you know, all these team fight compositions. They play a more fast-paced game, trying to pull the trigger from the opponent team, which usually leads to a mistake. They capitalize on it and they close out a game pretty quickly and convincingly. But when you move on to the other side of the coin, the fact that you haven't needed to pull any aces up your sleeve means that you've been playing consistently the exact same game. It could have been started by teams and easily punished. We haven't seen it yet, but in a best of 3, this is what could make the difference.
And just exactly what Trouble is saying, right? We haven't seen anyone expose any of these weaknesses or made the other hand of that double-edged sword that she's talking about. I think a series like this, is specifically with Riddle, who is so bloodthirsty to get in there and attack, could be one of the teams that will expose the weaknesses of Fnatic, because as Trouble said, they have been playing a very one-dimensional style, but I also want to see them be punished. I want to see Riddle attack, and then I want to see Fnatic adapt, show that they can prove more in a best of 3 than what we have just seen where they have been dominant in Group B.
See, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. I really don't think that playing one style is a bad thing. Like, I watched FPX win Worlds last year having one particular style they were really good at. I watched IG win Worlds the year before having one particular style they were really good at.
Where were they the next year, Medic? Where were they?
Yeah, they're both awful now, although I think IG might be good again. Anyway, but it's the idea that you need to be challenged is right? You should be pushed. And if you have a specific style, you should be pushed in that style. But I don't think Fnatic need to show me anything more than the exact style they've shown me for the rest of the split. I think they're better than Riddle individually. I think as a team, they're better than Riddle. And I do not see this going any other way than Fnatic just winning 2-0.
Yeah, I think actually you raise an interesting point, Medic, in the sense that if no one can beat your style, why bother changing it? And I think you saw that with a little bit with G2 when they were at their prime. They brought something new. FPX brought something new, but it was that particular style that they played, and no one knew how to deal with it. And I don't think Fnatic is pulling out anything particularly extraordinary, but I do think what they are doing is like a tight ship. They know exactly how to execute the way that they want to, and very few people have been able to find the leaky holes. And I think that's going to be an interesting challenged for Riddle. And I think obviously Riddle, they're a team that has gone from strength to strength. And I think they could be the team to potentially unsettle Fnatic.
I think what it is with Riddle is that when their individual units shine and they show up on the day, they're having an incredible performance. Sentcax and Doxy in particular, where they're on a good day, they can carry the weight of the entire team through. We've seen them step it up. They started kind of shaky at the start of the split. They found themselves, and through the middle point on, they've been extremely dominant. And we said that if we can see a Fnatic falling, it would be through the individual skill of the opponent team carrying through from the solo lanes.
And I just want to pick up from them solo lanes, right? Because the reason why we have explaining why it's so pivotal for a team like to Riddle to have these strong solo laners is exactly because they have Maxi as the jungler, and he's a guy who can play so aggressive when he's facilitated by his junglers. You can see the graphic coming up here with Maxi between between Dan. I think you just want to take it away here, the Scoundrel.
Yeah, well, I think clearly the matchup that we want to focus on is Dan versus Maxi. And I'm really glad that you brought Maxi into the conversation, because obviously the KDA is much higher for Dan, but they have been winning all their games. So it's, you know, I think that's a bit more difficult to take away, but actually very similar kill participation and fairly similar CS per minute. You know, this is not something that is unchaseable for Maxi, and he is a jungler with the skill and the ability, I think, to potentially upset Dan in the jungle.
Obviously, Dan has been praised as the best jungler in our league, and I still think he stand by that. But I think it's extra impressive that Maxi, while having taken so many losses, is like almost the same CS per minute as him. Like it is so close. The kill participation, as you are mentioning, almost the same. And this is all while that Riddle has actually taken losses, while it's been easy for Dan when his team has been so dominant. And I think that's impressive for Maxi.
I think the difference between the two junglers is that you see the two really shining KDAs and you're like, wow, Dan, 10 point something versus 5 point something. This guy has got him for good. Well, he doesn't, because that also shows playstyle, right? Because Maxi does have Sentcax, he does have Doxy, who will be the big carries. And if that fails, he's also got Raya down the bot lane. So it's not like Riddle is relying on Maxi to carry through. It's more of a collective performance, whilst on Fnatic Rising, I feel like it's a collective performance to try and get Dan to carry the game.
And I think what's going to be really key for this series, what we really want to keep our eyes on, is if you unsettle Dan, if you put Dan in an awkward scenario, what happens to the rest of Fnatic? Because that has never been the case. Dan has been the driving force. He's been the key player on this squad. Does this make Fnatic vulnerable, and can Riddle exploit it?
We saw a glimpse of the Fnatic versus Trick game where Trick were able to put Dan on Sejuani. It was a little bit of an uncomfortable situation for him. He lost a lot of resources. His side lanes needed to lose a lot of resources to keep him relevant into the game. But at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it's Dan they're playing for. If they keep him relevant, they keep them ahead, they can win. But it was through Trick's individual mistakes that they were able to pull through. Riddle doesn't necessarily make these characteristic mistakes. So if they manage to put Dan on something that's not comfy for him, I think they can pull through the early game.
I think that's completely correct. And by bringing it into the draft here, Sona and Lux is left completely open here, and no one went for it. Yeah. They prioritized the Gangplank pick for the global. Yet the Karthus is coming through. And I've spoken to a lot of players. They believe that Karthus was good in the beginning of this patch, but as soon as Lux and Sona became a thing, they completely nullified the Karthus pick. And Karthus is still up and available for Fnatic to grab here. Or not Karthus, but the Sona and Lux is still available for them to grab.
It's just so weird to see a Gangplank first pick, right? Like, I understand why you'd pick it. It's a strong champion, has global power, but picking that over something like the Caitlyn for a really heavy pressure bottom lane, even the TF or the Azir, if you want control out of mid lane, like Fnatic are building a global comp, but to start off with a gangplank when you just give Riddle such an easy ability to pick into it is very surprising to me. And Riddle already have a global comp of their own. Like every person, they're gonna think they're in a 1v1. It's like it's a flipping 5v5 no matter where you are on the map.
This is global versus global, but this is also textbook Fnatic. Like, this is just Fnatic in a nutshell. Like, this is the same similar style of comp they've played. They actually love global comps. They're one of the teams that really just peddled global comps over and over again, you know, primarily through the things like the Galio looking to play through Xmati on the bot lane. But this draft has been wild. Everyone, like you said, ignoring the Sona Lux in this scenario. And Doxy, one of his best champions, has been locked in the form of Nap.
So we're talking about dominance in the top lane right here, because you've got two globals that you can assist Doxy with, and Doxy is playing a melee versus ranged matchup. Even though the Gangplank has the parley, he needs to go close and last hit some minions, last hit some of his barrels to get stronger into the lane, and Doxy will have the range advantage on him in the starting stages of the game, whilst Senkax will have full freedom to go either top lane or bot lane. And then I'm having a feeling that this Karthus could very well be in the jungle, and we could potentially see something like the Senna down bot lane to add to our global list.
Potentially, and even if it's not a Karthus in the jungle, then Karthus and Senna fares fairly well together as a bot lane duo. The thing is, I think you're right, and I think Fnatic has the same thought as you do, Trouble, here, because they're banning out AD carries. They're not having anything of that. Specifically, Ashe is really good into the Kalista too, obviously with the slows. On the other side of Fnatic, well, they haven't picked a support yet, so obviously Riddle is target banning that. What I wanted to talk about here so far is that Riddle has already gotten a lot of comfort. You went into it quite quickly, Excoundrel with the Gnar for Doxy, but at the same time, this is Senko's with his Twisted Faith, who's in the second round robin has just been tearing up his games, and he's netting so many kills, even opening up Doxy where they have played through him, especially on this Gnar too. So it's going to be interesting seeing what they are going to do with this composition.
And Excoundrel mentioned in our chat that the Caitlyn was still available. It has been banned away. Thank you for picking up on that one. So you are just limiting that pool, and it fits into Trouble's idea that this Karthus is going in the jungle. I still have a super sneaky suspicion that the Galio could be flexed here into support, because with Fate's Call, you get such a good engage potential with the taunt. And it just like... I guess the issue is, like, what do you pick into Twisted Fate that would really control that lane better than and roam better than a Galio is going to do it? You could go for something like the Zoe to try and keep the TF like pinned back underneath this turret for as long as possible, or you could say Galio does that anyway. We'll pick a strong engage support in the form of the Leona, and then give ourselves a powerful jungler. But what jungle do you pick here for Dan?
I mean, the Graves is still open.
Yeah.
You've got a Galio next to you. He's going to have perma priority. So I would believe that if Dan wants to carry yet another game, he would have to pick his very famous Graves right here. It makes sense. I mean, they have a lot of AD damage, but adding Dan into the equation of the Graves, it doesn't matter what damage he does, because he is insane when he is on that champion. I just wanted to add on the fact that we're most likely going to see Karthus Pantheon bot lane again. We saw it yesterday. It was extremely unsuccessful, but Rhea and Wendelbow are known to play an extremely aggressive lane phase. So this can either go really good, really fast, or really bad, really fast.
I really hope this Karthus gets locked in, because we have highlighted the jungle matchup and how we can punish Dan. When he goes on a pick like Graves, it means I want to be aggressive too. But Maxi is just responding and being like, you want to be aggressive? All right, I'm meeting you head on here with the Karthus pick. So this is just going to be junglers trying to get their own lead specifically and getting ahead against each other. So the question is, what laners will be facilitated here and can help them? Because there's globals all over the map. It's never just going to be a jungle versus jungle matchup. It's going to be, oh, I got my AD carry with the ultimate from the Karthus. I got the Gangplank Cannon Barrage. There's just going to be fighting everywhere on the map, and it's never going to be alone.
I'm super excited for this game. I think level 6 bot lane, we're probably going to see 4 or 5 people from either team down there. Right, Galio comes down, Twisted Fate comes down. I quickly want to hit on the Karthus Pantheon matchup we saw yesterday. It was into Caitlyn Karma, if I remember. And Karthus Pantheon will always really struggle into that matchup just because they get constant pushed. Kalista Leona can't do that as much. So it's going to be much more skirmish heavy in the bot lane. And I think Karthus Pantheon have a lot more kill threat in this lane than they did yesterday.
I believe that whichever team can keep better track of all the globals and teleports, because that is extremely important. You've got 3 globals on the side of Riddle with the Pantheon addition right there. It's not necessarily global, but it can cover a lot of distance, and 2 teleports versus 2 globals and 2 teleports on the side of Fnatic. These are 9, if I can count correctly, abilities that you have to keep track of. And if one team loses track, they're going to get heavily punished.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you've said. And also, I want to add, you know, Pantheon Karthus, pretty good anti-dive. Like, if Karthus dies, great. He still gets damage off. Pantheon's really good in the anti-dive scenario as well. So if there is going to be an attempted bot lane dive, there are tools for for Riddle to respond. Sorry, tricked in my head after that last series. By the way, guys, I do just want to mention before we go to our casters, I do need to I essentially update you on the status of the previous series. Actually, XL are going to have to be forced to remake that second game and replay it out because there was a bug, or rather an issue with the thresh pick as well as a specific rune, which was against the rules. So we're going to be replaying that and updating you as that is going off stream. But for the time being, let's get into this series and hand over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Globals. That is what we got going on here. I'm expecting a bloodbath between Fnatic and Riddle, and our teams are already on to the Rift, so we should be getting going with our first game of this series nice and soon.
Yeah, I mean, this one looks like it's going to be exciting because you have so many tools to sort of make an impact around the map. It's not really just going to be limited to your own quadrant, your own lane, so I expect to see a lot of action. Ultimately, I am looking towards that level 6 point as being the major turning point for these teams when those globals do tend to come online. But there is possibility for a lot of early skirmishes. You have the Kalista Leona, great in those 2v2s, but you have Pantheon and Karthus. You can't underestimate their all-in potential as well. So I expect a heavily fought game in this one.
All right, well, early, what are we watching for? Where's our attention going early, Orcs? Where has caught your eye?
I think the 2 major things for me are jungle and bot lane. I think bot lane's a really interesting one because I actually think the 2v2 is pretty difficult to execute. A quick all in and then burst coming out from Xmaddie and Bravado can result in a kill that you can disengage from. But the difficulty is with the Karthus, if you do manage to kill him, there's still that potential he turns it around with his passive. And Pantheon as well actually has really powerful tools in all-ins early. So this is, to me, quite a heavy skill matchup between these 2 bot lanes. Obviously, the advantage is on Riddle's side with the all-in, the pushing potential of the Karthus, but we'll have to see. And I think jungle, it's something we highlighted before the game. It's something that's incredibly important between these 2 teams. I'm just hyped to see how this develops out.
Alrighty, well, Minza and Jungles have started their path in. Both started on that top side as well. But actually just jumps in onto Xmaddie nice and early. Even trade of health bars, but difference is Wendelbo's going to sacrifice his health bar to run Xmaddie low. That's going to force him to burn one of his pots already. I think that favors Riddle, to be honest.
Definitely does. I mean, the thing is, Maddie needs to be the one walking up to hit the CS, and you can see, having lost the HP, he's left comfortable to do so. Obviously, with the wave pushing in favor of Riddle, they have to respect the level 2. And ultimately, more health potions on the supports compared to the AD carries definitely means this favors Riddle. So they'll get priority there. Means they can rotate up, potentially get some vision. But something I do want to highlight is if we look towards mid lane, we just saw Magifelix already got priority there and has actually moved down to put some vision towards the river. So he just placed that ward down in the pixel brush. It means if Maxi does try and go for the scuttle crab on the bot side, he will be spotted out. And Dan is on this side of the map to potentially make something happen if they choose to.
Just a bit worried about Wendelbo or Ryan moving over there. So they do have to shove in this bot lane if they want to go for a contest on that. The moment Dan's just doing a full clear of his bottom side, taking out all of those camps just before the crab spawns up. And I think Dan's actually just going to run towards the top lane. I think that's where his attention wants to be. He doesn't want to bother fighting this crab. Maxi's going to spot the ward out, so that's now gone. And it will just be a trade-off of crabs on the top and bot.
Yeah, I think no way you can contest that because the wave mid lane actually bounced. So you actually lost that priority you had there. And bot lane is actually really struggling. Xmadi and Bravado are not having a good time. They've been forced away from the tower. They know that Dan has left. It would be a 3v2 if the jungler came, so they have to respect it. Now with the wave dying out, they push up, but it's just more CS being missed by Xmadi here, and Bravado is being chunked pretty heavily. So Riddle finding the advantage with their pushing power, and ultimately Bravado and Maddie haven't been able to find an all-in that they can work favorably, so they're just kind of at the bane of this Karthus Pantheon.
And that also is down to, if you notice, Thinkox moved out of the lane, started walking bot lane, more just to kind of disappear and go into the fog of war. And Fnatic went, uh-oh, we don't know what TF is. We know Maxi's bot side. There's potentially 4 people down here. We're not going to be able to pull off a play underneath the tower if there's 4. So they just had to back off, and they sacrificed a lot for that. Now Doxy is jumping down onto Pride as Maxi's going to force him to flash as the Void Spikes connect. Fnatic all around having a very, very rough start to this game.
And honestly, that's just great for Riddle because Maxi wasn't there to specifically get a gank. The window just arose because Pride stepped up. The goal for Maxi was to help crush that wave so Doxy can reset as he's doing now. You see, Pride needs to TP to catch the wave, so it just results in an even better situation than you hoped for. Maxi just wanted to escort the wave. He now gets double summoners from this gangplank. And when we're looking at the sort of win conditions we talked about, stylistically, having a top laner in a winning matchup for Doxy and having that lead is obviously great for what Riddle want to do.
Now Fnatic are able to nestle some control back in this mid lane as Dan spotted out on a ward, but is able to clear it out. And now Fnatic actually looking for that all-in. Wendelbo's going to put up the Aegis shield to keep himself alive for the moment. Does take a little bit of burst as End of line comes out from Dan just to push out the wave, and Fnatic happy to shove this in and go get their resets off as Bravado makes sure that it doesn't get frozen there by just walking the minions into the tower. Fnatic going to go for their reset.
And I love to see this, and it shows the sort of intelligence of both of these junglers. The fact that they don't just go to lanes to necessarily gank, but also to facilitate them, to help them crash, because that's what Dan was doing there. Yes, they trade on the Wendelbow, but the goal was to get the shove in, get the crash, and be able to reset. And despite the fact we have had Riddle's bot lane with priority all game, we actually see Fnatic rise and get the reset off sooner, and they're now actually pathing towards mid to try and get control of this dragon area. There's a big contest coming out here. So there might end up being some action because there's 4 members of Fnatic coming and only 3 members of Riddle to respond.
Big thing to note is look at the levels. Pride just hit level 6. He's got the cannon barrage. Magic Felix has the ultimate available to him. And Dan may just be getting caught out here as here comes the grand entrance. Going to get the knock up onto 1. First blood picked up for Xmadi, and now Maxi. He's the one being chased away as Bravado looks to chase him down. One more Q will be enough, but the wall of pain is there by Rai to slow Bravado down. Fnatic find their kill, and this should result in a dragon.
And honestly, the setup there and the execution was beautiful. You could see how Maddie and Bravado were hiding out of vision. Dan walks into face check. They expected what Riddle were trying to do, but because the reset came in sooner from Fnatic's bot lane, because Dan set that up, he had the numbers advantage. They're able to turn it around, get a kill, and now they have control of this bot side river. So beautiful setup from Fnatic there, and it pays off in a big way.
Yeah, looks like Fnatic aren't going to translate that into a dragon. They're happy just getting control of the wave in the bot side, and that CS deficit we've been hitting on for a lot of this game early anyway has somewhat evaporated. There is still a lead to Rai, but Xmadi's been able to keep himself relevant in gold. And with the fact he got first blood, he's actually up in gold over Rai. He's gone back to base. We'll see what he's gone to pick himself up here. And Fnatic happy with the game state now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are now at a big point in the game because obviously we saw the ult from Galio used in that, but the Destiny is now available for Senkux. Very shortly, we will have the ultimates available to Riddle's bot lane. So that's where things really start to take off. Right now, in terms of those ultimates, Riddle's in the advantage. They have the Destiny. Ryan and Wendelbow will get there soon, whereas both Magic Felix and Pride are currently on cooldown. So I would expect the next big play to be coming out of Riddle. Question's going to be, what are they looking to capitalize on? Because Herald is spawning pretty soon and Dragon still yet to be touched.
Fnatic do have the control around the area, or at least some partial control. They've got some wards in the areas. Fnatic actually do rotate over to get control of the Herald as well. So looks like they are just going to start this up as Bravado's made his way over to try and help get his hands onto this with the rest of the team. They do have that Destiny. Magic Felix shows his face back to mid lane, and I actually just don't think Riddle are aware this is going on.
I'm assuming they have some idea because they saw Dan clear out the ward and they're pathing towards Dragon. So I think they're like, okay, they're going to get the Herald. We'll take the Dragon in response. But they are very slow to move down towards it. And it does feel like Fnatic are setting the pace of this game, especially since at this point, you know, we had Rai already having the Requiem available. Matty wasn't there on the top side of the map yet. He actually started to walk up and then realized it wasn't necessary, but you could have instantly had the assistance from your Karthus. So ultimately they opt not to fight that. They opt instead to go for just the Dragon pickup and the trade. But we now see a point where those big ultimates we talked about in Fnatic Rising, the Gallios and the Gangplank, they're about to come off cooldown. So this is where things become a bit more balanced in terms of that global pressure.
And no swap actually have to come out, so Fnatic can kind of hold their top lane. Like, so Cannon Barrage back up. The heroic entrance about to come up for Magic Felix as well. I'm curious to see whether or not Fnatic decide to pull the trigger on a play. Bravado, only level 4. Zex Maddie did get a lot of solo farm to himself, so he is level 6. He has got the Fate's Call available to him, so if X Maddie jumps in, he could always peel him back out. Sorry, if Bravado jumps in, he can always peel him back out.
Yeah, I think for now, they're happy just to play defensive and pick up some more farm. There's no specific objective you're playing for, so ultimately, if Riddle wants to try and make a proactive play here, you can answer back. And honestly, you could potentially threaten even further. We see Dan walking to the top side of the map. If we see Riddle make a bot side play here, the Herald can get thrown down, the Cannon Barrage and the Galio ult might be enough to thwart Riddle, but you're also getting something on the other side of the map. So Riddle, they need to be super careful while Dan still has that in their pocket, because if they commit to one side of the map, potentially you could lose so much on the opposite end.
We did see Senkox, every time he moves out of lane, Fnatic do instantly play a little bit more scared as all in went in the top lane. Teleport's actually being used, and Fnatic are committing to this. Magic Felix is making his way forward. Doxy about to get the hyper passive as he's going to get out of there. That's the teleport used by Fnatic as the Grand Starfall comes in from Wendelbow just to make sure that Doxy's okay.
And that's honestly massively winning for Fnatic. They burn 1 TP and they get both the Destiny and the Grand Starfall out of Riddle. I feel like one of those would have been enough. I think you just throw the Destiny down. You're like, okay, there's too many for me to ult in, but they're going to back away. They don't want to tango. They don't have the information we do. But I think Wendelbow coming as well was a little bit overkill. It does mean, though, on this side of the map, they get a bit of plate damage for Rai, but the Gangplank ult stops that. But we're now seeing Maddie instantly forced to flash.
Yeah, Wendelbow was coming through. It was a bit too scary for him, so that's the flash down on next. Maddie has got the build water cutlass, so he has a bit of sustain from the lifesteal. As Rai has been silently farming up. He's picked himself up 2 solo plates bot lane. So he's been getting a fair amount of gold injection here as Wendelbow potentially caught out on the bottom side of the map. Has to use the Aegis to keep himself up as Dan looks to challenge him down. Collateral damage comes through and Bravado just commits to try and find the kill. Wendelbow gonna be able to survive as Rai secures the kill. Fnatic looking a little bit more scattered than we've seen them as of late.
Yeah, and honestly, Fnatic invested so heavily to defend on their top side. The end result was that they moved heavily away from the bot side. They come in to cover it, and they just end up getting caught out in the rotations. Honestly, Riddle did a really great job by allowing Doxy to soak pressure, and then the response was to put a lot of controlled vision down on this bot side. And ultimately, this is Wendelbow who set this up. He was the one who got the vision control initially, and then it was Maxi and Rai who followed up. So I'm really liking the intelligence coming out from both these two teams. It seems very these slight little things, but they have a pretty big impact. And one kill either side can have a pretty heavy knock-on effect.
Look at Riddle now, looking to move members over. Dan and Bravado are in the bot lane. Herald's going to get summoned up as they spotted the members out, and Fnatic holding back for the moment as they're going to try and escort Shelly into this tower. Although there are 4 versus 3 here. Magic Felix trying to make his way closer, does have himself the ulti, and only Dan's going to get the gold from that charge.
I mean, they were playing with fire a bit there. You actually saw Magic Felix reset to try and get closer with the heroic entrance, but ultimately he wasn't in range to assist initially, and there were 4 members of Riddle. Riddle don't heavy contest that, but they essentially translate that Herald into just 2 plates. So you actually see, in terms of bot lane plating, we're even. So ultimately, the Herald didn't really give much to Fnatic. You essentially got the bare minimum you'd expect from it.
Dan's looking for Rai, gets the blind off, instantly gets himself caught out with a stun as here comes the ulti from Bravado. Solar flares onto Wendelbow. The Aegis is already worn out, and next Maddie finds the kill. Fnatic finally getting their punish they've been looking for a while. just as the dragon spawns in 25 seconds, so they can get control of the area. They'll look to turn this into their first dragon, but Pride is getting mega bullied top lane.
Actually, I mean, the play is nice in terms of the kills.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
beautiful.
Xmatic caught sleeping and taken down. Beautifully executed by Riddle.
The timing was so good. And actually, I'm going to criticize the play from Fnatic. So they stay bot lane to get the kill on the Wendelbow. Wendelbow spawned well before the dragon did, and he has his ultimate to get in range. So not a massive concern. And then after they get the kill, my typical expectation is you're in a position to get control of the bot lane river and then play into dragon. But they actually got the kill and went for a reset. So it's not even like they were able to start the dragon up. It's not even like they were able to control the area. So to me, the play worked, but the consequences weren't severe against Riddle. You didn't actually benefit from it in terms of Fnatic, other than just getting some gold into Xmani's pocket. Whereas the resulting play from Riddle, they managed to capitalize and translate it into a dragon. So I think better execution from Riddle and more sort of foresight to turn that into a little bit more here.
Yeah, this is now Riddle up in dragons as Fnatic. This is not the form we're used to from them. We've seen such a clean regular season and already getting a very, very rough laning phase for a lot of their members. Xmadi obviously was able to get himself 2 kills from good rotations, but he has been feeling the heat. Rise up significantly in CS over him right now. Has got that extra kill, and with the amount of solo plays he's got, his itemization, he's getting close to that Ludens.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's not a massive gap. It's not like Fnatic have lost the game at this point or anything like that, but it's just seeing them punished in ways we don't typically. I think a lot of teams in that scenario might have tried to save Wendelbow, opted into a fight, suddenly Galliwalt comes down, you lose out. Instead, Riddle have the patience to step away and then look for a counterplay that benefits them. And I think in a lot of scenarios, Fnatic would have got away with that. The Riddle are really looking to challenge for a fight. Just be breaking out here.
Yeah, that just getting a little bit of damage onto Wendelbow, but with the Aegis, he's just able to stand up and take most of the damage or soak it. Fnatic now rotating multiple members over to this mid lane. The Rift Herald is up. They've got control as far as the vision goes for the moment. And the contested Riddle is just to push out top lane. Someone has to go catch that wave, but Fnatic actually just sacrificing the waves here to try and get the Rift Herald for themselves.
This is dangerous because Maddie is actually falling really far behind. He's now 2 levels down on Rai. And when Rai hits level 11, that ult really starts to hit. So, yes, they get the Herald in this situation, but ultimately, I need to see something from this Herald. Throwing it down doesn't mean much because you're not even getting the plate gold anymore. I want to see them get a tower at least with it and look to get some more pressure at the back of that. If they get the first tower gold, I'm happy. Otherwise, I think that they invested too heavily and they're not getting the payoff. They are looking towards the top lane. Remember, all those globals are up and available, so Riddle can try and defend this one if they get there in time. But I think instead, the call's been made. They're going to sacrifice this tower on the top side, and instead they're going to look to pressure bot lane and trade in return.
Yeah, will be a trade of turrets as Magic Phoenix is on the receiving end of a gank here. Does take a gold card and a stun. Has got the taunt to keep himself up for the moment. Pride makes his way forward. Magic Phoenix does hold his flash. Does lose a lot of health.
Yes, Fnatic not even opting to actually use the Herald in this situation. They knew they would win the turret race, and they trade 1 for 1, sure, but they retain that Herald for later usage. So I think it's intelligent play because ultimately if you're trading 1 tower for 1, it's not really too much of an advantage, and you have to be concerned if you commit to the second tower, the global collapse could come in. So I think Fnatic definitely making a heads-up play in that situation.
I see how well and how effectively they use that Herald though. I assume they're going to try and look to use it mid lane to crack that open and open the map up for themselves a little bit more. Bravado and Dan are just hovering at the back of Xmadi right now.
Let me take the time now just to look at some items that come in. Obviously, Ludens is now there for Rai. He's close to hitting that level 11 point, so big spike for him. We have Lichbane and the Roa for Senkux. Roa's working on being stacked. On the other side, we do have the Proto Belt for Magic Felix, and then only a Fiendish Codex, and the Blade of the Moon King has been picked up by Maddie. So right now, the items... Oh, fight coming in.
They're jumping in already. Wonderbow is going to get chunked out as the Destiny gets used. As a kill already picked up for Dan. As here comes the Destiny X. Maddie needs to be careful. Throws out the yo-yo from Bravado. Gets the solar flare. The Wombo combo is coming down, but everybody's able to dodge away from the grand entrance. Pride comes forward with the Q. That's all he's going to be able to land. Fnatic find their pick and they step away as Doxy gnaws out.
And this is just textbook Fnatic, honestly. They're grouping up together And it's just the way they position in team fights. No one oversteps. No one goes too far forwards. They take down Wendelboe. And we'll be able to see the replay here. So they find this isolated target and they commit onto him. But see how grouped Fnatic are. And then Maxi makes the decision to go in. But again, everyone instantly looks to turn on him and punish. And each time, anyone who overextends from the side of Riddle gets challenged, while Fnatic stay grouped up as a ball. And it means that Riddle, they lose members, they have to back off, and Fnatic come out ahead. So still seeing this brilliant team fighting for Fnatic, and it allows them to get the reset in. So they should be looking to throw this Herald down mid and then move over to contest this Dragon. It's the third, so definitely a big one.
Look at Xmatty. He's got the QSS, instantly uses it to get away from the stun from Wendelboe. And now Wendelboe has to be careful. The taunt's landing onto Rai. Wendelboe just going to get chased down by Dan, and Xmatty layering the damage into Rai. Not going to be enough to find the kill. Senkuk steps forward. The Requiem comes down. Magic Felix has to use the taunt to survive.
Beautiful.
Beautifully timed by Magic Felix to be able to survive. It's a 1 for none. But Riddle do have the prio in the river. And that does mean that this third dragon is probably just going to be theirs for the taking.
They need to start it fast because Magic Felix has gone on the reset. You can't hesitate on this. But the Herald does mean they're going to be able to challenge this mid lane tower. I think with the numbers, I can definitely get the charge in, but they aren't going to be able to take the tower because Riddle instantly responds. So favorable setup for Fnatic with that initial pick, but they overextend a bit too much. The health bars get chunked by that Karthus, who is level 11 now, doing a ton of damage. And they end up having to give up the dragon. We're now looking at 3 dragons to 0 for Riddle. But despite the kill lead, Riddle's still in a decent spot.
Yeah, that's the key thing is Riddle, they've unlocked a win condition for themselves here within the Soul. It's going to be really, really big for them. Now, QSS obviously burnt onto Xmatty. That's an item that he's been kind of forced to itemize into. So while he's ahead in gold only by 100 over Rai, Rai's itemizing into raw damage. So his R is going to hurt more and more. While Xmatty, he wants that Hurricane to kind of get that 2-item power spike from the Kalista.
Yeah.
And that is being slowed down by 1,300 gold.
And it's essential. I mean, honestly, one of my questions is why did the cleanse not come in for Xmatty? Because I look at this team composition when you have a Twisted Fate, a Pantheon with point-and-click CC, and I'm thinking if I get locked down by one of those as a Kalista, I'm essentially dead. So maybe he was playing more towards the all-in 2v2 is the reason I went for the heal. But ultimately, nothing really came from that. And you're now in a position where, as you said, you have to sink 1,300 gold into that QSS. And when it's on cooldown, if it gets forced out, you can be in a vulnerable spot. Now, Fnatic hunting for a kill here, and Rai is overstepping.
Yep, Tempered Fate's going to land. The blind comes in. Rai's taunted and CC'd down. Dan finds himself a killing spree. 3-0 on the Graves as Fnatic just bolt it up the river.
Yeah, and Fnatic so good at just finding these picks, utilizing their engage. It looks like they're actually potentially going towards his Baron now. A very slow rotation coming in from Riddle. You see Doxy has just used his Mega now, so response needs to come in quick.
Look at Magic Felix, though, on that flank in the bush, just playing in the blind spot. Maxi trying to step up, but Fnatic take a lot of damage, and that is just going to force them to step away. Senkux will chase them out, and now Riddle actually have the inside track on this mid lane. Magic Felix comes in with the taunt and the knock-up.
I think ultimately we're at the point of the game where Riddle's 1-3-1 becomes very threatening, especially when they have some great tools like the Kha'Zix. So the Karthus and the Pantheon can assist in their side lanes situations with just passing their ultimate. But Kha'Zix is great at going to the side lanes and punishing. So by all means, Fnatic want to pull away from a 1-3-1 and they prefer the group team fights. But Riddle don't opt into that one. They know that realistically Fnatic aren't going to finish that dragon. They don't want to risk of 50-50, and on top of that, the poke from the TF was actually really significant at chunking them out. So Fnatic, they get a nice pick, aren't able to translate it into anything massively, just testing the limits of what they can force against Riddle.
Limit testing at the moment. This is probably the most limit tested we've seen Fnatic. They're up in gold currently, but this does not feel like a Fnatic game we've seen so many times in the regular season. This feels like a very different Fnatic, one who are getting challenged.
I feel that's the key thing, is they're getting challenged, but I don't think this is Fnatic necessarily changing. I think it's just a team rising up. I think there's been a lot of intelligent play coming out from this game. I think Riddle haven't just tried to brute force and just match Fnatic. They've gone, okay, can we counter this? Can we match this? What can we do in response? What can we do in return? It's been more like a game of chess rather than just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But I think it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to try and contest this, because Fnatic looking towards that dragon in a minute 30, it would be soul for Riddle. So this is likely where we're going to see our first big team fight that has massive consequences for the rest of the game.
I mean, you say that, but Riddle can just sacrifice it. They don't actually have to fight for this dragon. Obviously, like you've told me time and time again, Orcs, but Mountain Dragon is more effective earlier. It doesn't scale as well as some of the other dragons, but even so, Riddle are happy. Like, if they don't feel comfortable going into the river for this next dragon, let's say a pick goes down and they don't want a 4v5, they just won't. They'll just step back and let Fnatic take their first dragon, because it's only the first dragon for Fnatic. But Fnatic, they have to fight this. So if Riddle find a good pick, Fnatic may be forced into a numbers disadvantage to try and deny the soul.
And you can see they've actually opted to put vision around the Baron because they're concerned Riddle might try to, head towards there. And Fnatic also want to threaten that possibility. We'll take Baron if you go near the dragon. But now they realize they need to clear out this dragon vision, because things like the Kalista and the Galio, their damage will fall off a lot quicker if they have to get through that Mountain Soul shield. Fnatic, again, grouped up. They know they're strong like this, so they are able to force Riddle out to a degree. But right now, you can still see Senkux pushing in the top lane, Doxy pushing in the bot lane. Fnatic's only real response is to push a mid, but there's a Karthus there with a ton of wave clear.
Pride's got his Essence Reaver, so he's got a pretty high amount of wave clear right now. That does mean he is going to be able to match Senkux, shoving up in the top laners. Dragon's now live on the Rift, and Fnatic going to try and four-man their way through this river and try and get control.
They're fishing for a pick here. Any chance to find an engage on a lone member, just as Riddle are trying to contest vision and poke.
Scary thing is, look at the Doxy Narbar. He's about to gnar out. Turret goes down, but my attention's really on this river right now, because Doxy, as soon as he gnars out, Fnatic have to be just so scared. They can't really step up while he's got the Mega Gnar on, because of the wombo combo, because of the team fight potential he'll offer. Oh, he's got it now.
You can see a fair bit of pokes actually gone down on Fnatic, and they're still looking for it. So ultimately, Riddle are happy with this. They just got a tower on the top lane. Fnatic are getting poked out. They're happy to keep stalling this. And Fnatic, you're running out of time because you've now moved Pride over. He's having to walk back in response. You need your engage, and you can tell they are hunting for it as much as possible. Looks like they're now going to try and move towards this dragon and look to force it, but they are really struggling. Dan's actually moved round to the side. Engage is coming in, though.
Here's the Destiny as well. The Wall of Pain's already been used. The Solar Flare onto 2. The big taunt comes out by Magic Felix. Fnatic find their 2 kills. Cannon Barrage to follow as they get a big gnar off, and down goes Dan. The Requiem secures the kill. Bravado's chunked. No jungler available for Fnatic, and Riddle just feel comfortable to step into the dragon pick. Fnatic can't do anything about this, as Doxy will just zone them out of the river. Dragon's already been started up by Maxi, and Pride's coming in forward. He does have the barrels, but they're just getting taken out by Senkux. Pride's going to try and get into the pit for the moment, as Doxy's taking a lot of damage from Xmati, but Xmati's also pretty low. Now the barrels are into the pit. They try to look for the taunt onto Maxi. Maxi's going to get himself caught out momentarily, able to secure the soul for the team and get out scot-free. Pride flashes over the wall to get him, but Xmati's chased down by Doxy. Doxy's still alive. He's about to get the gnar out. Doxy once again with the double kill. That was beautiful. Bravado will be forced away underneath his tower. Riddle, come up big.
Riddle playing that one so smart, and then the execution in the fight was perfect. The consistent poke damage and the willingness just to play it as slow as possible. And now Bravado going to be hunted out. If he goes down, this could be disastrous for Fnatic Rising.
Oh, Bravado has to flash. Dan's made his way over to join the team, throws out the blind and the end of the line, but now Senkux has a gold card. Bravado going to receive more. Senkux secures himself a killing spree. Riddle just has complete control of this game right now, as Dan's now getting jumped onto by Wendelboy. I don't think Wendelboy really has the damage to work with there.
But the critical thing is now losing Bravado means that we have 20 seconds with Riddle all on the map where they don't have their full team. So we'll get to see that play once more. And the critical thing here is the fact that it's a great engage from Fnatic, but they waited so long. They were hunting for this. They knew they were kind of desperate. And the response was a punish onto Dan. The Requiem comes in. There's a beautiful CC that set up on the jungler. And for someone we praise so heavily and is usually so consistent, he finally falters after being targeted here. And then the move towards the dragon. Riddle, kings of patience here, play this one so incredibly slowly, and they just keep hunting for poke, hunting for the right scenario. You can see Xmati already 2/3 HP. Pride's getting chunked out. They keep firing damage in. And when they try and engage on Doxy, he just moves to the side. They go, right, guys, we need to focus on the dragon. And they don't end up stopping it. They can't kill Maxi quick enough, and they lose so much health in that passage of play that it's just clean up for the side of Riddle. And obviously the execution here was really nice to see. But ultimately, Riddle's patience and game sense was the critical factor there. So intelligent from them.
And the scary thing now is we got 4 minutes until that Elder Drake spawns up. Right, building towards the death cap, got the Leandres finished up. You've got the Medjais onto Senkox. Senkox has 4 items right now. Fnatic are going to finally, at 28 minutes, crack open this mid lane tier 1. But they've thrown a Rift Tail. They've thrown everything at that looking for it. And they haven't really found too much, but they are looking for Wendelboe. The Face Call is going to connect onto him, and he's just going to get taken down by Xmadi. So Fnatic find a punish on to the support for Senkox.
Up in the side lane.
He's going to trade his support for a tower.
I mean, Senkox is level 16 now, and he's hyper farm, 270 CS. And remember, Twisted Fate gets extra gold for every CS he picks up. And Fnatic, they've just been running it up mid, and now they're like trying to hunt for kills because they know they don't have an answer in the side lane. They're trying to force so hard, and looks like they might have found Maxi here.
Although Senkox is coming forward, he's got the Destiny. He's going to join up with the rest of the team. Xmadi's the one who's caught out now. Heroic entrance comes in heroically to save Xmadi. He's caught out by the Requiem. The Grand Challenge, everything is just on him. Rai secures himself the kill onto Dan, as well as Doxy gets out scot-free, and Fnatic are just falling apart at the seams. Pride's looking for the tidy up, but he's only got Bravado to work with. Senkox is just going to zone him away. Pride puts down the barrels and tries to make some space between him and the members of Riddle, but Xmadi just being caught out time after time in this game, and Riddle just going to start up Baron.
And it's a hard one to play. In honesty, for a Kalista, you're against the likes of Twisted Fate, which is the champion you pick to punish, but also the Kha'Zix has been problematic. But honestly, this setup here from Riddle has just been flawless. The way they played this game has been on another level from everything we've seen before. We characterize this team as being heavy skill checkers, looking to win advantages in fights and skirmishes. This has been really smart, coordinated play in Fnatic. They're left looking desperate here. They're trying to engage because they know the side lane threat's there, but Mari instantly picked off, and without that damage threat, you really are lacking, especially into the mountain shields. They nearly managed to take out Doxy in this scenario, but he plays out of the vision really effectively, and in the end result, Fnatic know they don't have the tools to deal with the rest of the team, especially not with that Mountain Soul shield, so they just end up having to back away, and Riddle get everything they want and more. Soul now in their pocket already, Baron now theirs to use, and with a minute 30 on that Elder Dragon and a 4k gold lead, I'm feeling super confident for them right now. Rabadon's picked up for Rai, by the way.
Yeah, Rai is very much spiked right now, and Fnatic looking down their first loss of the summer season. This is not how you want to start playoffs. Destiny's been used, and they're actually hunting to see where Fnatic are on the map more than anything. Is Destiny down?
And the critical thing is at points like these is often you saw Fnatic hunting for these engages before. This is where you'd expect I'm going to say a Fnatic death rush in all honesty, where they'll try and hide in an area and wait for someone to step up in this wide map state, pick them off, and suddenly you've stalled the Baron push. So Senkox uses the ultimate there just to try and scope these out, but they are still looking for the engage mid.
Yeah, Wonderboy's actually going to get caught up. The Aegis Shield will buy him a little bit of space and a little bit of time as the Solar Flare and the Cannon Barrage land onto Rai. Fnatic find their picks. Meanwhile, Doxy's jumping onto Pride. Pride has nothing to work with, and he's just going to use the Orange to survive as the Requiem, almost enough to take him down, is followed up by the rest of the team.
The base, though.
But their base is in absolute tatters. Fnatic,
I mean, they get the engage. They get the engage mid. It's what Fnatic were hunting for, but the cost is massive. Senkox decimates the top lane and the inhibitor. Maxi and Doxy kill Pride and get that bot lane one. They got everything they wanted in that scenario. And, I mean, yes, they lost their bot lane. Yes, it's been a rough game for Wendelboe. Like, absolutely. I'm not, without a doubt, 0-7-1 in the Pantheon. But still, Riddle get what they wanted. They played the wide map state. It comes out favorably. Now, Pride is up in 20 seconds. Ryan and Wendelboe are there a bit sooner, but Riders have to run, whereas Pride has that teleport available. And Fnatic, they are not willing to give up this dragon. They're trying to group up and contest. But again, Riddle looking for that poke. They know the big engaged jewels still on cooldown.
Do have the Solar Flare, but the Fate's Call is down, and Cannon Barrage coming up soon for Pride as he has respawned. Xmadi still not got that Death Dance, though. Doesn't really have the survivability versus Maxi. Elder Drake is alive. And Riddle, they are the ones with priority on this lane, on this river, sorry. Fnatic slowly but surely making their way forward. That ward in the pit is actually a bit of a lifesaver for them here.
Oh, and it's gone. Well, okay. It was a lifesaver. I guess they die now. Is that how it works?
They place another one.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Well, at the moment, Riddle aren't really hunting to start this one up. They're waiting for the Requiem for Rai. It's not yet available, so they'll just let Doxy push in the bot lane. They'll just play things slowly out here and keep control of the river. Ultimately, again, the burden is on Fnatic to try and start this fight before that Requiem is available. It looks like Riddle actually feeling confident just to start the Dragon up. They will push mid and zone Rai away, but Doxy, he's threatening the side lane.
Yeah, Doxy's threatening the base. Senkox is actually just going to go in with the Destiny. Fnatic have been caught out as that's Doxy finding a rampage kill. Pride is taken down. They're going to try and teleport out, but Wendelbow able to interrupt it. This is going to be Riddle just looking to close it out. The Requiem comes down. Xmati finds the kill, but it doesn't matter. Riddle handing Fnatic their first loss of the season. Down goes the Nexus. Riddle are one up in the series.
And honestly, just a beautiful game there. I feel like the whole time, Riddle played Fnatic like a fiddle. It just felt like they had their number consistently. They knew where they needed to be. They knew the plays they needed to make. And at the end, they baited them into the Elder and they go for the backdoor. I expected coming into this, I thought Riddle might be able to answer to Fnatic by outskilling them in the solo lanes, challenging them, beating them in skirmishes. This is not what happened here. This was a more intelligent team playing the map better, playing every scenario better, and coming out ahead. This was just the better team in this game winning, because Fnatic, we've praised them throughout the entire split, but they just couldn't match up. And it wasn't, oh, Fnatic made mistakes. It felt like the decision making and the setups were just better from Riddle. So Fnatic, this is the first time they've been challenged, but really they have a big gap to make up, because that was honestly some extremely high level League of Legends from Riddle. Borderline flawless on their execution in a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I'm really glad to see Fnatic finally being challenged. I really didn't want to see them clean sweep through the whole season. Riddle, that was a statement game for them, but it is a best of 3. We'll have to see whether or not Riddle can fire themselves through in a 2-over over Fnatic, get my words out eventually, or if Fnatic can fire back. We'll see you in a second after this break.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. You're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright.
Well, I think realistically, I thought so. I don't even know what to say. I think we said
Denmark, you know what to say.
Yeah. I just saw. I literally didn't even see Guldborg until just now, and now he's playing Denmark. Yeah. I literally didn't even look at Guldborg's face until just now. But we did say, like, Riddle at their best could challenge Fnatic, and challenge they did. They even got the win, and it was very good from them.
I think we specifically mentioned how if any team are going to take down Fnatic, they're going to completely choke the two solo lanes and take away the hugging hands around Dan, which usually are his mid lane and his top lane, right? And this is what happened right here. Setcax and Doxy massively stepped up. They literally put Raya and Wendelbow in a backpack, and they went all the way to that Nexus to knock it down. I feel like this was a story of, oh, the bot lane died again. Wait a minute, this guy's carried 3v5. This was literally the story of the game.
To me, it was so close for Fnatic actually coming back at one point in the game. They were so decisive when they actually spiked and just took the fight specifically around the Rift Herald where they got a lead back into the game. But up until that point, Dan had just run around on his graves trying to help his laners, trying to reset. He was just being supportive duty. But the thing with Dan is that he was never falling behind while doing it. So in terms of like Maxi versus Dan matchup, we didn't really get much of it. As Trouble is saying, a lot of it came down to the solo laners, and honestly, Wendelbow just got like dragged over the finish line by his teammates there. That was just, unless you're counting the 0-8 play for him, then he was, unless that, then he was a god. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing for Fnatic was that they didn't really utilize the lead that they...
He might be muted on Discord.
He's muted in Discord. He's muted in Discord.
Sorry, the thing with Fnatic is they didn't really utilize the leads they had, right? Like you look at the bot lane from Riddle, and they were collectively like 2-9 or something at one point. Like they were so far behind. And Xmatty, the one time he really had a chance to influence the team fight was just totally out of position. Like they were trying to chase up in towards the top lane, and Xmatty was all by himself. And then you see Magic Felix trying to jump over two walls with the hero's entrance to get there. But by the time he gets there, Xmatty's already dead. And I want to give a lot of credit to Riddle because they did look really good, but this Fnatic just did not look on the same page, right? There were too many things that were going in too many different directions in team fights for me. And I'd really like to see them clean it up their act.
At the same time, I thought a thing that Riddle was very good at was the Drake control. Just out of nowhere, they suddenly had Soul, and it all stemmed down from they were really good at actually taking the first Drake around the 8-minute. Then the follow-up came at the 15-minute mark, and they just kept that going. They were skirmishing around timers perfectly, and that's usually something we hadn't seen from Riddle. They're just skirmishing for the sake of skirmishing, but now we actually see them be strategic about it. And now it's up to Fnatic time to kind of to recuperate, because as Medic is saying, I don't think we just saw them at their best.
Yeah, I do think that was. I think realistically, it was the first loss they've been handed all season. This is now a big moment for the Fnatic, because when this happened to XL, they crumbled, like absolutely crumbled. And we want to see if Fnatic will do the same, or whether they can bounce back, whether they can get back into a driving position. I know that Trouble. Do you want to add a little bit to that there?
We can do it after a specific.
Sure, yeah. I was gonna say we have got the player of the game to bring in here. I'm gonna let my Danish brethren take this one. Guldborg, walk us through it.
I mean, it obviously has to be this backdoor coming in clutch. I was actually going to say that Riddle is one of the teams that's just been really good at a 1-3-1. Doxy know that they're dancing around the Elder Drake, and he's just forcing a play so Senka can come in and clean this up, and Ascendo who's really not been doing much. And this might be the game-winning play from a 0-8 guy jumping in here just to throw his body at them to stop this TP, enabling the backdoor coming in from the two solo laners. It is really just Riddle living and dying by the solo laners until the end, until the Nexus explodes here.
So the thing is, we talked a little bit about Fnatic not showing up. I think Fnatic did show up. It's just that Riddle were better in the mid lane and top lane. maybe Fnatic would be better collectively as a team. You saw that the bot lane actually got ahead. Bravado and Xmati did a really good job. They were trying to translate it through the rest of the map, but they fell into a brick wall every time they were going up against Senkax and Doxy. Doxy that was all the one on the side lane, not replied to at all. No one cared what this now was doing. And we specifically mentioned how it was going to be a much more favorable matchup for the Na and much easier to farm and stay safe on the top lane. He took that and he ran away with it.
I think actually as a whole, it was a really weird pick and ban phase for me as a whole, like Twisted Fate being given over like first rotation. And, you know, there's a lot of things that just felt very different about that draft phase. We're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we'll have that second draft and we'll see if Riddle can close it out or if Fnatic can bounce back.
bloodshot eyes. Another ocean opens wide. Our love is sick but still alive. Then all our hearts would radiate and melt the sadness we create. Only then could we survive. Let's turn singing, hey, this love is all around us. This love is all around us. Staring idly at the sky. Love is almost passed us by, still we watch it fade away. And all our prospects wearing thin, we don't know where to begin, or where we might have gone astray. We crave, we strive to feel alive. singing, hey, hey. This love is all around us. This love is all around us. This love is all around us. This love is all around us.
Sunsets, high rise, you know you're on the floor, diamonds, good light, walking the golden door. Everybody knows that you want it more, more. Ice cold to the touch, we're gonna burn it down, bodies so hot until we hit the ground. Everybody knows that you want it more, more.
Welcome back, everybody. We have this second round of draft coming your way. It's Fnatic on blue, Riddle on red, Thresh is banned, Volibear follows.
Good
Yeah,
book.
I mean-
Is your headband orange instead of
No.
red?
No,
It's red.
it's just,
definitely
it's
looks
just my
orange.
horrible
I mean,
camera. I'll
it's
tell you
got
guys,
a
the
Danish
horrible
flag on
camera.
it, like in the
Yeah,
center.
but the,
it's got a
the Danish
flag.
flag in the
Like,
center
you can
looks
see right
red.
there.
Oh no, it even looks orange now. I'm pretty sure you're Dutch and you're supporting the Netherlands. Anyway, you were going to say something about the draft.
On that one.
I mean, that looks
Yeah.
orange as well. It all looks orange.
But he has a hat
Listen,
piece as
Medic,
well.
Medic, you're such a troll, all right? You're counting down when the producer's counting out. We're doing League of Legends. This is the playoffs. This is Fnatic versus Riddle. Let's get to that draft
It's
instead,
close to his
alright?
bedtime. Be nice with him. It's close to his
Alright,
bedtime.
All right.
Oh, it's past his bedtime. Holy.
All right. Can we talk about League of Legends?
Yeah, okay.
I'm ready,
go
man.
on.
Great.
We're both
All
ready
right.
to listen to you, so go on.
Basically just the same draft, instead the Fnatic Rising is actually banning the Carters. They're having none of that from Ray, which I actually think is quite interesting because he did something and he was always there to be the wave player even when he died. But Fnatic Rising letting the Twisted Faith be off only to take it as a takeaway here. And we have seen Magic Felix on the Twisted Faith too, but it's been mixed performances coming out from him on this pick.
I still much prefer this to the Gangplank pick. Like Gangplank, Doxy's one of his best champions is the Gnar. It's such a good pick into Gangplank. We saw how powerful he was on it in game one. So getting Twisted Fate, which is a little bit less easy just to directly counter, instead of going for Gangplank on blue side first pick, I think is just so much stronger.
Have the teams taken like a formal handshake not to play Sona Lux? Because every time it's being left up completely. The Azir comes in here for Senkak. It's a good blind pick in general. But yeah, and the team seems to have taken like this formal handshake not to play Sona Lux.
So here's the deal, right? Riddle have locked in the Caitlyn. You know that Caitlyn is going to be pushing. You most likely can put it down there with the Morgana. When the Twisted Fate comes with a yellow card, you can black shield the yellow card, and the Azir is going to have perma prior in the mid lane. I feel like Riddle have only gotten 2 picks here, but they are very important picks for them. They are free in their bot lane, and they also have a perma push in mid lane, meaning that when the TF leaves to go towards that bot, he's going to get punished by taking CS away from him and experience.
By also picking the AD carry and the mid laner on the first rotation, you are opening up a counter pick for the support. And knowing what 3 picks Fnatic Rising have picked beforehand when you pick this support could lead into a Morgana. You got the Black Shield against the Ashe, against the Twisted Faith, and Morgana Caitlyn in general is just a priority bot lane when they are paired up together.
It does mean that Fnatic kind of switch their drafting style a little bit here. Instead of going for the support so you can just get that super easy Morgana lock, you pick the Kha'Zix and now you leave Riddle with the options like, do you pick your Morgana because we know you want this, or do you go for a jungler and get rid of the risk of Fnatic just banning out junglers this second rotation. Because the expectation is now that Morgana is locked, Fnatic will just remove the Graves. They'll get rid of another strong jungler whose name I can't think of off the top of my head. Maybe it's something like a Zac. You know, just get rid of these powerful junglers and give the Kha'Zix something that he's good at.
I think the thing here with Riddle is that even though, sure, you can try to persuade me all you want that Wendelbo was dying for a purpose all game long together with
No, he
Freya.
wasn't. He was inting.
Listen, I tried to sugarcoat it, okay? Here, they made sure that the lane that they're getting is a pushing lane. Again, Ray and Wendelbo like playing aggressive, but they also have the protection of the Black Shield. Now, what I want them to do is get rid of really hard engages, because when you have the likes of Nautilus, Leona, Ashe, and Twisted Fate, good luck Black Shielding one of all these engages coming your way.
And actually, with the Karma being taken off the field, you know, they are starting to crunch down on those supports that would be good into this lane specifically. You know, you are looking to put pressure on those. Karma's classically been considered decent into Morgana because you can kind of match the shove and you have the ability to burst with the Black Shield if you need to. They're going to go for a Camille, and there's a Gangplank ban here.
No more globals.
Well. No more globals. Very different style of game that we're seeing already just from the initial draft.
But the thing is, it also makes sense here because Riddle are having a priority bot lane with the Caitlyn Morgana. They have DSC, who's always very good at getting priority. They get to counterpick their jungle on R4 now, and that means they will also get the counterpick for the top side. So by banning away the Gangplank, you not only ban away some priority for Pride, you ban away a good weak sider, and that also means that you can be extra volatile with Doxy up in the top lane. This is lining up to be a pretty good draft from Riddle too.
Well, it's part of the benefit of being on Ved's side, right? And because of the way that first rotation played out with the Morgana getting locked and Fnatic deciding they wanted a strong jungler for Dan, didn't want to get banned away. Trundle, just a powerful jungler all around, you know? He scales pretty well, very good at skirmishing. Kha'Zix can beat him in trades early on, but the Trundle, because he has so much sustain, can be a little bit difficult to chunk out.
It makes so much sense for the Trundle right here. You've got a Caitlyn that wants to poke, you've got an Azir that wants to poke, and you see three squishies on the other side for Fnatic. Someone needs to pick the tank, someone needs to pick an engager. Both Maokai and Ornn are still in the mix, and by locking in Trundle, you're making sure that whoever frontlines is not necessarily a frontline with all his defenses taken away from him.
And I was just going to say completely what Trouble just said. You know they need to do a weak side up in that top side. You know they might need to pick a tank because they have a lot of squishies. And why not just throw in the Trundle who's got the subjugate? It also makes Doxy's job so much easier, even if it's not a tank coming up there, because you could just take away those stats and just keep the pressure up here. They are opting in with another kind of weak sider here in the cannon, but this also means that when Fnatic are going in, they need to go in.
That is extremely concerning, knowing that there is an Azir that can shove the cannon straight out. You're looking for things like an Azir, a Lee Sin, and a Janna that would typically throw the cannon out. Once the cannon is in, he's either going to use Protobelt Flash or maybe a Flash if he doesn't find a good flank. If he commits to using a Summoner, and you throw him back out, there's no way back in for the cannon. That is your burst damage coming in. That's extremely concerning. Unless Pride pops off again on the cannon, that's extremely concerning here.
Picks aside, Riddle Reborn is actually going to be tested now, specifically because they have played a priority style for top lane with Doxy. Now they're putting him onto weak side, meaning that you're playing for your mid laner and your bot lane. Up until recently, we haven't really seen them play for this bot lane because they have not, well, as Medic said, they have inted a bit. Yeah. And that also means that they haven't gotten as many resources that they would have liked to get. So now a lot of eggs are actually being put into the Riddle bot lane basket here, and they need to perform now because there is a lot of trust being put on them now.
Well, I think we've got a very different style of draft coming in here between these two teams. I think, like you said, they're going to change the way that they're playing the game as a whole. If Vendelbo has a similar performance, then, you know, it might be a game where Fnatic are able to capitalize. Guys, thank you for breaking down the draft. We've got Hiprain and Orcs ready to take us through this second game.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Getting ready to go into game number 2 between Riddle and Fnatic. I think everybody coming into this, really, I mean, by maybe one person, but most of us predicted that Fnatic were going to 2-0 this series. They got smashed. They got absolutely smashed by Riddle in that first game. Big change in draft here. Orcs, do you think it's enough?
I'm unsure because I think you now have some great tools for Fnatic Rising. We've seen the Twisted Fate be really effective, but I think the execution is going to be a bit more on Fnatic to pull off, because ultimately Riddle's team fight is just so easy to do. You have a Caitlyn and Azir to sit backwards. You got Morgana running a bit of protection for them, and then you have a great frontline in Maokai Trundle. It's very simple. It can handle waves effectively. It plays that out really well. And ultimately, I just think that Riddle aren't really a team who have to struggle too much in this game. If they can get through the early phase of the game, if they don't get threatened so much by the Twisted Fate and the Kazakhs, I can see Riddle coming into the late game feeling confident. But Fnatic, they need to be punishing this backline later on. But for now, they need to try and find opportunities to punish in the early mid game.
Well, they got that gold card ready. Doxy is going to take it. Has to flash early. I agree with everything you said, Orcs. That was very insightful from you. As Riddle, they're just going to go for a counter invade just to probably get some vision around, try and spot Dan on his early clear, so they can have some idea of whereabouts he is.
Yeah, and you want to be getting that early pressure down as much as possible. You have the Twisted Fate available to you. It's that extra tool you can utilize. You can play around your great engage potential, but you need to be finding those engages. And I think this is really going to be a test to Fnatic, not only their map play early, which was lacking a little bit, not so much early, but early mid in the last game, but also their team fighting. I've praised Fnatic's team fighting throughout this competition. I still think it's really top form. They're going to need to execute on it here, because if Senkux and Rye are able to team fight safely, you're going to have a difficulty.
Bravado's going to take the binding. Take a lot of damage early. That's him half health before the laning phase has even started. That's going to force him to chug one of the potions, and just overall a good win for Riddle once again. They keep getting these. Every start of the lane, the first wave, someone has to lose out on a pot.
But what I didn't really understand with this set pick is it's like, so if you want to beat out Morgana, there's a lot of picks that can do it. You know, Karma was something that was talked about on the analyst desk, but also things like Janna. You can pop the shield with your W, you offer more CC, and the thing is, the problem with Morgana is that you're great at mitigating CC, but you only provide a root by yourself. If you root X-Maddie, he's still going to auto-attack you, whereas Janna has a knock-up. You know, you have the likes of Karma, who has a lot more damage she's able to throw out. But in this situation, you pick a Set into it. Set's main thing is he has CC. That's one of his strengths. He can run up to you and break your face. He's going to struggle to do that against Wendelboe, especially as there's that range disadvantage. So I'm not too convinced by Bravado's pick here. We're going to have to see if he's able to utilize that later on. But for now, it's going to be Riddle's bot lane heavily in favor here.
Yeah, they're going to get this early shove. Fnatic having to play really safe as Rye is looking for the extra bit of poke off onto Maddie as he just takes binding from Wendelboe. Now, it does look like they're actually trying to usher Dan into the lane. Dan's aware of that ward in the bush, so stepping up, and Vado actually just goes in. That forces a flash for flash trade, and I think Fnatic can be okay with that. Rye losing a summoner spell as Maxi actually did also make his face known in this bot lane, making his way down, and now Fnatic actually looking to collapse onto him. Imagine Felix making his way over, but Stenkuk's also rotating in time.
Looking actually to collapse here. Bravado's flashless, but it looks like Maxi hesitating. He's going to be caught out now.
Yeah, he's going to get forced to run away. Dan misses out on the void spikes, so they don't have that slow to work with, and Fnatic should just be able to pick this crab up. Although Maxi is still making his way forward here. Now they're looking to come in onto the zone. Look for the binding onto X-Maddie. Forces him to cleanse. Magic Felix comes in forward. Rye flashless. Takes the gold cup. The black shield will keep him alive. Stenko comes in forward and X-Maddie goes down. First blood already picked up for the side of Riddle, but it's a 1-for-1 so far as Wendelboe low HP. Magic Felix flashes after and connects the gold card. Finds himself a double kill. And Riddle just zoned out hard as Doxy jumps in onto X-Maddie, not expecting Danton to be nearby. Magic Felix has another gold card, is going to connect it onto Doxy. Overcomes Stenkux, looking to try and tidy up. Is able to find one, but Fnatic is still up in the kills for the moment. But Dan low HP. Pride zoning them away for the moment, and Fnatic come ahead.
Fnatic just having the better position in that team fight, finding the better angle, and ultimately coming out pretty favorably. Skirmishes like that are not in Riddle's forte. Ultimately, the Morgana Caitlyn wants to be playing the lane out. They don't want to be caught in those fights because there just wasn't enough damage from Rye. The flash was already down. Doxy didn't have a flash, and realistically, the Morgana, unless you can kill that rooted person very quickly, you're not actually stopping most champions from doing damage. You know, if you root X-Maddie, he's still going to auto you. If you root Magic Felix, he's still going to be able to use his abilities. So it was in favor of Fnatic Rising in terms of the champions available there, but also their setup and the way they look to group up once more as a team works so much better. And this is something that I've talked about a lot with when it comes to Fnatic Rising. When they play out team fights, they are so good at sticking as a core and just punishing anyone who's overextended.
I'm much happy to see X-Maddie also took the cleanse this game. Last game, he took the heal, took the kind of, I want to trade with you summon a spell, but this time the cleanse really saved him there. He still did go down for first blood, but it did mean he was able to kind of continue the fight for a bit longer. And ultimately, kept him alive long enough for his team to try and get a mop up now. It's a double kill onto Magic Felix. Bravado steps forward, but this is the problem. Every time Rai steps up, he knows he has the black shield. Bravado's not going to be able to pop it with the face breaker, and Rai's just happy.
That's ultimately the issue, is that these engage windows are shortened so much by the black shield, but they're still there, you know? Using things like the flash or the hex flash, which is still available for Bravado, can catch them off guard. And obviously, once you force that black shield, it is a very long cooldown. It's a 26-second cooldown. So for almost every matchup, that's going to be a lot longer than the CC coming out from your opponent. So that is really how you look to punish the Morgana. Or alternatively, you look for the target who hasn't been black shield once it's thrown down. But we'll see. Priority heavily achieved for Riddle in this bot side as we expected. It means that Maxi can find a route in here and help him challenge with some vision control, support their push, and really enable them.
Let's take stock of the spell, the levels at the moment. Magic Felix not actually level 6 yet, so he doesn't have the Destiny, but he is still constantly looking to rotate towards this bot side. Pride no teleport, but does have the Slicing Maelstrom available, so as we get later on, once that teleport comes up, the TP flank from Pride is something that you do have to be scared of if you're on the side of Riddle.
And that's always going to be a critical thing in this game, because realistically, you know, as much as you can use the Emperor's Divide to get the cannon away, often the damage can already be done with the CC and the front-loaded damage. And particularly Morgana is not good at dealing with AoE CC. It's specifically when there's one person with one bit of CC targeting someone. She's great, but cannon will just murder the black shield and then the stun applies. So that will be something to keep an eye out on later on. And the stronger the cannon gets, the more of an issue it will be.
Wonderboy stepping up in the lane. He knows there's people there. Dan just jumps over the wall, but Maxi's coming in. Destiny's coming in from Fnatic. Wonderboy steps up. Gold card into the black shield, into the ignite. Wonderboy burning down, but still able to survive. Rai putting some damage into the back of Magic Felix, and Wonderboy gets out with a sliver of health.
Definitely closer in terms of HP, but ultimately this is a massive win for Riddle. You get that Destiny cooldown, and actually Magic Felix just TP'd mid there, I believe, so you essentially negate all that roaming pressure from the enemy mid laner that you were so concerned about, and Fnatic get nothing there. All they do is manage to chunk them out, force a reset. Ultimately, this favors the side of Riddle massively, and you can see them now moving down towards that dragon, trying to get control. Or actually, it looks like Wendelbow might be going via mid. They're trying to sniff out what Fnatic Rising are going for. They want to match them and keep the bot lane 2v2 for as long as possible.
If Fnatic can get this Cloud Strike, it's 10% off that Destiny, which is actually really nice for Magic Felix. Also, it means that you are looking at, you know, maybe a different soul than a Cloud Soul. Dan jumps onto Wendelbow, looking to pop him. That's a lot of damage for him down already. Dan should just be able to mop this one up easily. Magic Felix comes in with a gold card. Quick combo off onto Senka just to poke him out. And that's just going to afford Fnatic with this early Drake.
And this is heavily punishing to Rai here, because he now can no longer go up to the turret. You're losing out a lot there. And ultimately, this is a big distinction between the likes of Dan and Bravado and a lot of other support jungle duos. They are so focused on being paired up together. You see, they go for that vision contest, and both of them are there and available. Wendelbow goes solo without Maxi even on that side of the map. So it ends up losing his life, ends up losing the dragon, and they're dropping plates in the bot lane. And actually, Rai stepping up there might just end up dying here if he's not too careful.
Yeah, does have to be careful. Lots of members about. Enchanted Crystal Arrow available to X-Maddie, but we're looking at Pride just chunking at Maxi here. Isn't actually able to finish him up. Slicing Maelstrom now forced out from Pride.
But
Fnatic is like to steal away blue.
You stole the blue, but in return, the blue's handed off to Magic Felix. So the end result is Riddle's mid laner doesn't have a blue, but Fnatic's does. So I think it's pretty distinctly obvious who went out there. And Fnatic having a much better early game so far this time. I think ultimately Dan and Bravado pairing up has been really effective. And now they can look towards that top side, and the Herald. Maddie has already gone for the reset, has that Enchanted Crystal Arrow available as well. feel like at this point, Riddle might just have to give this one up. And you can see, Rai hasn't reset. He's still looking just to push in the bot lane.
If not, really looking like that first game didn't catch them off form. Well, it caught them off form, but it hasn't caught them out mentally. They are able to bounce back. Senko's just going to catch this mid wave as Bravado makes his way back towards the bot lane to go support out X-Maddie, and Dan's just going to be able to solo up this Rift Herald. Nice and easy. Fnatic get their second objective on the map, and they trade nothing for it. A couple of plates onto Rai, and that is it.
And you got to think about how the Herald will be utilized. If they can get a full tower, then obviously it's going to be massively beneficial for the side of Fnatic Rising. Destiny is available once more, but Wendelbo and Rai still feeling confident to push up. Bravado hunting, though.
Ooh, bait out that Black Shield. Like you said, with the Destiny available and the Black Shield now down, it's got a fairly lengthy cooldown on it, so do have a small window where they can punish that, but X-Maddie's actually going to take a binding. That's probably going to chunk him out a little bit for the moment, so he's just going to have to look to heal up. He has got some lifesteal from his Cutlass. Wendelbo is weaving a lot of bindings into Fnatic right now.
The thing is, it doesn't actually have that much impact because the follow-up from the trap isn't there. Bravado hasn't built in sustain, and Maddie, as you said, has that Cutlass, so it's nice to get. It applies pressure, but it's not really changing the state of the lane. And ultimately, Riddle aren't really able to find much in that scenario.
They're playing chicken in the bush here. Toxic and Pride.
They were both answering the door. They had a Amazon package arriving. We'll see.
The standard. Doxy is going to jump in though, but I mean, yeah, you're just not going to. There is no kill pressure in this top lane. The Spectre's cowls onto Doxy, so he's a magic resist. Pride, his job is to TP flank. That is his job this game. He's looking to team fight with the rest of Fnatic. They're going to summon up the Herald and start up onto this tower. This should just be first tower blood over to Fnatic. They got a cannon, they got the Rift Herald. I don't think that Riddle are really going to be able to answer out. But it looks like they're trying to.
This tower's gone.
Yeah, Maxie's stepping up. He's going to take the arrow. Destiny's coming in. They're just jumping onto Maxie. Gold card's going to get popped. Black Shield does absorb it up, and that's a fair amount used by Fnatic, but Riddle, they just had to give it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Maxie was doing, in all honesty. A little bit confused there. Just like, hey guys, let's defend the tower. What tower? And Fnatic Rising able to really pull up a pretty big gold lead, just getting close to 3,000 now after taking that first tower thanks to the Herald, and a very different game from game one, because right now Fnatic are starting to pull ahead, are starting to play to the win.
Now I want to talk about the stakes of this series and what it means, because we are in the winners bracket right now. If Fnatic or Riddle lose this, they go down into the losers bracket, so they're not actually out of playoffs. They do have another chance to advance further into the tournament. It just means you have to play a lot more games and, you know, challenge a lot more teams. For Fnatic, a loss versus Riddle going 2-0 down in this series is going to feel really bad for them. Mainly because their rivals, the team that they've been challenged the most by since jumping down into a tier 2 league, has been BTXL. And BTXL beat out Tricked in our game before this. So
yep.
Already XL are further ahead in the upper bracket. Fnatic don't want to have to, you know, slowly work their way back up after losing to Riddle. They want to just close out a win here and keep themselves in this tournament as the top dogs. Because remember, they didn't drop a single game throughout the entirety of the split. And now Riddle, actually, look at the challenge. Fnatic with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto the wrong target. Pride slides in. Beautiful. That's a massive ultimate as they just mop up a double kill instantly onto Pride. Doxy's forced over the wall, and Fnatic find their picks. This would be the second dragon for them.
Just honestly a flawless engage. Talked a little bit about the Emperor's Divide. Often, although it can push the cannon away, the damage is done, and there it was. The arrow comes in, the wrong target is shielded there, and then the end result is the cannon finds a beautiful engage and just decimates the side of Riddle. They've now got that second dragon. It's an Inferno Soul as well, which honestly, Fnatic will absolutely love. This has been a really solid early game and a return to form for Fnatic Rising, but ultimately, Riddle after that stellar game one, looking a bit out of sorts, not as confident in how to play out this composition. And Wendelbo, he didn't have a great game one on the Pantheon. But going a bit rough here. We'll see the arrow connects on the Wendelbo, the wrong target, and then Pride, even with the Emperor's Divide, the damage, the CC is already done. the fight is over after that cannon ult, and Doxy, unfortunately, is locked into the fight off the back of that TP.
And I mean, he only got the Slicing Maelstrom off too as well. It wasn't like he got it off the entire team. The rest of the team was still taking it as well. So just overall, really, really solid stuff from Fnatic.
And I think going back to the stakes setting you were talking about, a critical thing is that the upper bracket, it's two wins and you're at finals. Whereas the lower bracket, there's a lot more games to go through. So there's the fatigue element, there's the element of being scouted, seeing what you're playing like at the moment. And on top of that, if you... I'll hold my thought. Okay, I can go back to it. If you win this game, you play against Extell. Now, there's two scenarios that can come from that. Either you win and you make it to finals and EU Masters guaranteed, or you lose and you learn a bit about Extell and how you match up into them. But Wendelbo, goodbye.
Yeah, he is just Donzo. Dan secures the kill, and now Rai getting close in on all fronts. Dan's going to tank this tower, but Magic Felix comes in with a gold card. And Bravado with a Haymaker secures the second. Riddle losing 2 in the top side of the map as Herald spawns up. Like you said, Wendelbo did not have a particularly great performance on the Pantheon last game, but it was somewhat alleviated by Senkux, by Doxy. But this time, Doxy's playing losing side. Sure, Senkux has a kill, and sure, Senkux has a slight CS lead, but Magic Felix's impact on the map is enormous.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about setting this sort of win conditions for Riddle coming into this series was the solo laners. You have a Maokai top lane. You know, you have an Azir mid lane who's just looking to farm up. You really don't have a top side you can play around, and your bot lane struggled last game, and they're struggling again here, and they are your win condition in this draft. So I feel like this draft has been a struggle for Riddle, but also the bot lane has been their weaker component for the whole of the NLC, and here it's not shown to be any different, especially Wendelbo is not having a good series so far, and it's allowed Fnatic essentially to run amok with this game. At this point, with a 5,000 gold lead, 2 dragons in the bag, I'm honestly at the point where it's close to just saying it's a game 3. Like, Riddle really need to pull their finger out and find some solid front-to-back team fighting where they can mitigate the backline threat if they want to come out ahead in this game, but it is not looking good for them right now.
It's looking very rough. We may be going to a game 3, but it is only 17 minutes. It is a little bit early. We can toggle back to the items. We can see where the spikes are coming in. Leandri's Proto Belt picked up a Pride. He's fully stacked the Cole. There's a Roa almost stacked up. 4 more minutes left on that from Magic Felix. We'll have to hold that as he's actually getting caught. Going to take a lot of damage. In comes Dan trying to tidy up a little bit more. And we've been priding X-Maddie. Sorry, not priding. We've been congratulating X-Maddie. Magic Felix. It's Magic Felix in the mid lane.
Yep. I know he can get every role to challenger, but he is playing mid lane at the moment.
He's playing mid lane at the moment. Okay, well, Magic Felix got caught. I'm just going to leave it there. Bad boy.
Yeah, you know, that is an accurate statement, so fair play, Jake. I don't think I have anything to add to that. I'll just let that one sit.
Top level analysis.
Top level analysis. But a bit of an overstep on a Wendelbo ultimately, and that's really what Riddle need to find, is oversteps from Fnatic Rising where their backline is still safe and protected, because you force Fnatic to commit a little bit too much now. 55 seconds on that dragon. You can see Magic Felix playing the top side of the map, applying pressure. And I mean, I see who's matching up against him. There's a distinct difference between a Caitlyn and a Twisted Fate, and I think it comes from your global pressure, because when that dragon spawns, Magic Felix can come down, Riot can't, but it looks like they are looking for a pick here.
Yeah, Magic might be in for a little bit of hurt. Is able to step away, though.
Oh, that is devastating, because we can look to the bot side of the map and see all of the rest of Fnatic Rising storming towards that dragon area and looking to get the vision control out. They know that they've just seen 3 members of Riddle on the top side. There's no one to contest them here, so they're going to throw down the Herald. They're going to clear out the vision. This dragon's as good as gone.
And this mid lane tower may be as good as gone, to be honest. I don't know if Senkux is actually going to be able to defend it versus X-Maddie. Yep, down it goes. We'll be able to take out the Herald. So it won't get a second charge off, but Dragon will get picked up for Fnatic. Dan's going to start that one up. Kha'Zix's very effective at being able to do that. I'm assuming now he's level 11. He's got the invisibility and the claws upgraded. He might have gone spikes, actually. He might have gone spikes. Might have to hold that, though, because Fnatic are looking to jump in on to Rai and Wendelbo. Although, with Maxi and Doxy nearby, Fnatic decide they're not going to go for a 2v4. That'd be a little bit too greedy.
They don't lose anything, though, you know. They still get the dragon on the bot side. Yes, they committed members, but it was a trade for the dragon for the tower, which ultimately with 3 dragons in pocket now, Fnatic take that absolutely, and they can just go back to playing out a wide map and then look to play towards that next dragon win condition. But
Yeah.
honestly, Fnatic aren't really feeling the pressure right now. They're comfortable with how the game is.
I mean, this is a complete flip from game 1. Last time it was Riddle who felt comfortable with all the dragons. Fnatic this time, they're the ones who feel comfortable with these dragons, and they get the Infernal Soul as well. So this is going to be really, really nice for them. Adds a lot of burst to them. And one of the things that was hit on was, will Pride just be able to get the burst off before getting shuffled out? We've seen typically he's been able to, with his items and with the fact that if they do get the Infernal Soul, Pride is going to be able to get the burst out. It doesn't matter if he gets shuffled back. He's going to do his job as long as he lands a multi-man slicing Maelstrom.
Yeah, as long as you get like that first stun off and just a fair amount of damage, you'll absolutely pop them to such an insane degree that the team fight won't be recoverable from. Even if, if Pride doesn't get to 100-0 them, it's enough. And right now you see Fnatic playing that wide map state with the Kazakhs and is able to sort of punish anyone who's able to hold the side lane. Right now it's Bry. I mean, if he steps up, he's just dead. I'm just going to flat out say it.
I don't think he even needs to step up. Throws down the gold card. Gets caught out as Magi able to secure the kill. They actually throw Doxy in. Doxy tries to teleport back out, and now Felix forced to run away. The gold card comes in. Black Shield's a little bit too late, and Pride in the middle of everyone using that slicing Maelstrom, trying to lock them down, but he's going to get taken out by Senkux. Senkux chasing him forward, looking for another, finds himself the double kill as X-Matty uses the Ash Arrow onto Doxy. Maxi coming in onto the sideline, and Doxy's able to answer out. Fnatic only have 2, and Riddle are on the hunt. Maxi flashes forward. X-Matty's trying to go for the kite. He's trying to get the big outplay. Look at the kiting from X-Matty, though. Is able to disengage, but overall, Riddle come up out on top.
And you can see there, Riddle are hunting for those cleanup kills at the end because they think if they get these last 2 kills, they have Baron in their hands. That was their window to come back into the game. And as much as they win the team fight, they unfortunately don't get anything more. But ultimately, this was Fnatic massively overstepping in this situation. So they go to dive, right? But this is too much. Under the tower, you're so incredibly deep. Maokai arrives and he's too tanky to kill and get away. He locks up Magi Felix, and then Senkux, he's ultimately safe here. Everyone else is disengaging because they're low, and Pride ends up being caught out. So this is great for Riddle. We talked about how you need to threaten the backline. Senkux was not threatened during this fight. He's just able to get DPS off and deal with targets one at a time. This is exactly the sort of team fight Riddle need, and unfortunately, Fnatic's mistake is what led them into this one.
And with that, Senkux is now 3-0. Leandries and the Nash is picked up for him. He is incredibly strong right now on the Azir. But overall, it's just a little bit sloppy from Fnatic, considering they've been pretty clean in this second game.
Definitely put some fear into you because they know if they lose this game, they're going down to the losers bracket. And you have to look at things like the fact Senkux up in farm, 3-0 on this Azir, and up in experience compared to Magi Felix. He is a threat that will need to be dealt with. So Fnatic, instead that the composition can be harder to execute in these team fights, they need to find that backline access. They need to be able to hunt that down. And this dragon spawn in minute 30 will be the critical moment where you need to find that angle.
Looks like X-Matty's going for the Infinity Edge as his third item. Not going for something like a Death Stance. Wants to have as much damage as possible. And overall, he has had some pretty decent DPS. And just take a look at Fnatic. They're setting up in a brush for the moment. Just see if they can find something. Dan on the flank. Same for Pride. They're jumping in. Ashara gets eaten up by Rai. Trying to look for the slow. Magi Felix comes in with the gold card. There's going to be the slam back. Senkux sends members out as Magi Felix. He's the one who's now on the firing line. Maxi will be able to take him out. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but Pride and X-Matty have found Doxy. He has a blast cone to work with, but he's just going to get knocked up on the trampoline. And X-Matty just firing away into Doxy. Doxy's going to heal up a fair chunk, but Pride able to close out on the kill. Fnatic find 2. This should just be their dragon.
Just a really nice angle from Magi Felix. Yes, it trades mid laners in this situation, but that is an up trade for Fnatic Rising. Senkux not only was the most fed member on the side of Riddle, but on top of that, you have 2 carries on Riddle. You have 4 on this side of Fnatic Rising. So if you eliminate that Azir, even if you die for it, it's absolutely the worth play for Fnatic Rising. Now, respawns will be coming in before that dragon spawns, so there should be an opportunity for Riddle to get back on the map and contest this. They did just lose that team fight, and critically, we can look at the flashes, no longer available for anyone on the side of Riddle. And Pride, critically, has his flash available.
X-Matty goes to base, gets himself an extra crit cloak. And Fnatic Just going to start up this dragon. Riddle making their way over. Magic Felix with the rest of the team as Maxi's actually just going to bolt in forward. Asher doesn't quite land, but Bravado comes in. He actually slams Zencox into the team, forcing him to use the Zhonyas. Pride comes in for massive ulti, locking everyone on Riddle down. And Dan slides in to secure one more as Riddle are just being routed out of the river. It's 4 kills for Fnatic and the Dragon Soul.
Pride just stellar on this. Ken in this game, honestly, permanently finding the backline access and just decimating them. The Soul is in the pocket of Fnatic Rising and a massive goal lead as well. It's going to be 7,000 after this turret, but they're looking straight towards that Baron. They are looking to decisively end this game on the back of these buffs.
And this Baron's going to go down fairly quick. Bravado to tank it, Dan and Xmatty just to put the DPS in. It is melting to Fnatic. And Riddle don't have the members, don't have the teleports. They can't contest this. So Fnatic will pick up the Soul. They will pick up the team fight. And they will pick up the Baron.
And we're going to see this replay. And I mean, I just want to look at Pride. He moves round with the Infernal Soul map. There's an easy way to get round through their jungle. Goes in for the ult. 3 members just getting CC damaged. Instantly Senkox and Wendelbo destroyed. And at that point, you can see Doxy walks away. Rai tries to, but there's no way you're getting out of that one. Ultimately, the fight was won on the back of that cannon ultimate, and this has been a big pick for Pride. And honestly, he consistently finds the massive impact ultimates, and it just means that Riddle, the fight's over. As soon as that Slicing Maelstrom comes down, it's like, okay, we lose. I guess we look for the next fight. But at this point, Baron in the hands of Fnatic Rising, starting to look like this might be one they're unable to come back from. We'll see how Fnatic Rising are able to utilize this Baron buff.
Infinity Edge finished up onto Xmatty as well, so he is very, very strong. Right, got the rapid fire cannon and the Infinity Edge. Has got a Hex Drinker as well for a bit of magic shielding additionally on top of what Wendelbo has to offer. But it is looking scary. Void Staff onto Pride. Actually, Destiny coming out from Magic Felix. He's just looking to scout out where the Riddle members are.
Yeah, it's sort of a reverse from last game I said at this point where Riddle are now desperate. They want to find a pick. A Death Brush potentially would work well. So the Twisted Fate, we saw Senkox do this. We're now seeing Magic Felix. You just throw down the Destiny as you're setting up from the Baron to make sure there's no one hiding for one of your solo members to pick them up. So it means they can approach safely. They now have the waves pushed up. They know where everyone from Riddle is. And they can start utilizing that Baron to make a siege.
Yeah, the 1-3-1 just been really effective here for Fnatic. Xmatty has a pretty big wave. And remember, he's got that Lich Bane, so he's actually able to do a lot of damage to the towers. But Doxy taking that Infernal Soul poke, half healthing himself as Wendelbo does land a binding onto Ashe, but I mean, there's not really much more they can do. That's going to be an open inhibitor. Xmatty's going to make his way back towards the mid lane, Baron up these minions, and
I mean, look at
Fnatic.
this level lead between junglers, by the way.
Oof.
That quickly developed after the Baron and that team fight got taken, but now seeing a 4-level lead. And Dan, he feels confident to go in a side lane by himself to push with. You've seen it again here because if Rai steps up, I don't want to mess with the Kazakhs in a 1v1. You ultimately have to be super careful in these scenarios. Inhibitor down top lane, Pride applying pressure. Castellaro hits on the Doxy.
Actually does land as a Doxy. Doxy gets chunked by Pride in the arrow. And that just affords Fnatic time to take this tower in the mid lane. The Baroned up minions were crashing in topside, so someone had to go deal with them. Inhibitor's going to fall mid as well. Fnatic utilizing this Baron incredibly effectively here, as they're able to crack open the second inhibitor. They're looking to siege up onto this third and final one. They have got a line of traps to work their way around, but ultimately Magic Felix feeling pretty comfortable as Pride actually gets caught out, uses the Slicing Maelstrom and the Zhonyas and Senkox. He's just going to get chunked out by Dan. Magic Felix comes in to secure the kill. So 1-for-1 so far, but Riddle, this is not a 1-for-1 they want to be taking. As Fnatic able to crack them open. 2-for-1.
Somehow.
And Xmatty's just onto Rai. Rai's getting absolutely chunked. Xmatty's still full health, and Doxy's melting through. He's found himself a double kill. Maxi's low. In comes Magic Felix with the gold card. The ace for Fnatic. They've got the supers. The towers are going to crumble, and Fnatic are cracked this series open. It's one apiece.
This is honestly the Fnatic that we expected. The clean play, controlled, not really given any room for Riddle. And, you know, it's what we expect from Fnatic. It's what we've seen throughout the split. But my big question mark has to go to Riddle. you know your solo laners are the strong aspect of the composition. It's something we highlighted going into this. We looked at them as being the driving forces to come ahead. I don't think this draft set that up well. You have Doxy on Maokai, you have Senkux playing, push and wave clear duty on the Azir. Ultimately, you made your bot lane your win condition when we saw in game 1 that they weren't exactly the thing you wanted to play around. They were struggling. So I think you need to look at this game 3 and say, we need to play around our solo laners. We need a draft that favors them and play more for defensive side bot lane where we're not looking to get a Caitlyn fed to be relevant. Because I think if you let Fnatic play the game their way, they will annihilate you, and you saw that in that game.
Yeah, that was Fnatic playing the game on their terms. Game 1 was the game played on Riddle's terms. Normally when we have our 2 one-sided games, our third game is super explosive and really tight. So that's what I'm hoping for coming into this third and final game between these two teams. I really want to see Fnatic pulled into the mud and scrapped, because so far it's just been control no matter who wins in their games. So let's see Fnatic get down and dirty with Riddle in this game 3. But as Excandrel says, we have a series on our hands, guys. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll be back with game number 3. We'll see you in a second.
Let the sparks fly into a summer night. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind. Running to the future blind. Nothing really matters. put them on your sleeve. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind. Let the sparks fly into a summer night. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind.
Welcome back, everybody. Fnatic level the series. They bounce back and make it a 1-1. Everything riding on this final game. Now, before we do break down that previous game and work towards our third draft of the day, I do want to give you a bit of an update on the XL situation. As I previously described, I was told that we may be looking to replay the game due to a rune bug or a banned rune interaction with Thresh. I have now been told that the Riot officials and our admin officials have reviewed the game and instead have allowed XL to keep the result at a 2-0, but have issued them a warning penalty because of the interaction. They clarified that they don't think that the bug had any influence or was even used in that game upon reviewing of the footage. So that is the standing. XL will remain 2-0 and will advance to that final in the upper bracket. So I just wanted to keep you guys updated and in the loop when it came to that particular series. Now, let's get back to business. Let's start to look at this Fnatic win. Where do we want to start, Gulborg?
First of all, I think that in the beginning it was very clear that Riddle had a game plan and that was playing for the bot side. But on the side of Fnatic, they had a really skirmish-heavy composition too. You had the set, you had the stun card from Twisted Faith, of course, and you had Kha'Zix, who excels in these skirmishes. And Riddle decided to take a lot of fights in the early game where Fnatic was actually at their best. This made sure that Fnatic was actually able to get a lead and just extending that lead, doing what Fnatic do best, not giving away any gold as soon as they are ahead. And that's just what happened. At the same time, Doxy was on Maokai, Pride was on a Kennen. Kennen was just able to free farm, and as soon as Kennen had the first move, because Fnatic had the better setup for objectives, he was just able to come in and clean, and there was never an opportunity for Riddle really to strike back and get a lead.
And again, in all honesty, I feel like you summed it up great. You're like, he was on the Maokai, and the second I saw the Maokai being looked, I'm like, this is the guy that almost single-handedly carried your first game. You are the dark horse here. You're the underdogs here playing against an undefeated Fnatic up to game 1. And Senkanx and Doxy literally carry your game. I have yet to be wowed by the Riddle bot lane. I don't think it's the strong spot. If you're gonna have them play anything, give them the Karthus again. At least he can do damage when he dies. Give him the Kog'Maw. At least he can use the passive. But please, for the love of God, give your solo laners strong picks, because I think when Riddle shines, it's the solo laners that put him ahead. So if you want to win this best of 3, you just kind of have to forget your bot lane exists and put much more influence and attention to your solo lanes.
Yeah, I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head.
I know it sounds harsh, but
no, I agree with you. It just does sound harsh, right? It's just like, just ignore these 2 players on your team, but it just doesn't work for them when they focus around those guys.
Yeah.
No, I think realistically, when you give agency to Doxy and Senkanx, you're going to have much more to play with on the map, you know. But I think, you know, Ray and Vendelbo can be good, but just this series has not been for them. And I think realistically, with everything on the line, go back to what's worked for you. Fnatic have been unbreakable before this. So whatever worked for you in the first game, you need to find that again. Let's have a look at the play of the match from our previous game, though. Gulborg, you can walk me through this one.
Yeah, and as I said, Fnatic really good at keeping that objective control, and at this point, they're fighting for the soul. And once again, they will be the first one for it. The vision control is already there. Riddle has just come back from a reset, having an awkward fight into this. And this is just to explain that they really can't do anything. The Kennen just comes in here, and at this point, Senkanx is the only one doing damage from Riddle. He's immediately destroyed. Doesn't even matter that he has cleanse, and the rest of them are just not able to do anything. At this point, Fnatic gets the soul of the Infernum Drake, and then it's just so easy for them to close out. They're just starving Riddle out of their own base, and they're just taking a nice like by the book game and just ending it out.
I think that kind of speaks for itself because you see that Doxy tries to join the fight at the end, and the second he sees Senkax down, he's like, nope. He turns around, like, I'm going back up top lane to farm. He knew that the fight was instantly over, and it's so sad seeing it from someone who carried game one.
It's actually been a very draft-dependent series as well. It really feels like you've had clear win conditions set from draft, and Riddle were able to make their draft work really well in the first game. Fnatic, conversely, in their second game. Now, we have, of course, got one more game left in the series. Winner takes all. The winner will obviously go through to face XL. The loser will go down to one of our elimination matches being played tomorrow. So after a short break, third draft is on its way.
not be second best. It's all in the timing. There's not a right way or a wrong way. It's just a short way or the long way. Get there together in our own way. Good timing is everything. The wrong move when your seconds end will slow us down. Good timing will make or break. The fine line is a choice or is it fate? Don't slow us down. What we do at the start is gonna be there too at the end.
Welcome back to the NLC. We're into our draft final game of the day. Tarek, bit of consistent ban against Bravado. I think that's been very, very prevalent throughout the NLC. Thresh going to follow up here for Fnatic Rising. And actually, we've got to switch of sides. Fnatic will be on red, Riddle will be on blue.
I wonder who did that side selection there. Is it the loser? Or is it the
Loser, I believe.
Is it the loser? Okay, so Riddle was actually just done with that red side, making it a bit harder to directly counter pick for that top side. But I still hope that they're kind of chiming away from playing for the bot side and going for, you know, that top side, that mid lane, letting Stencox and Doxy shine. It is the kind of Riddle I want to witness. Question is, are they actually going to play with the Sona Lux now that they're blue side themselves, wanting to pick it up real quick? Or are they looking for another priority pick to get?
I think this is more like Riddle having blue side sort of benefits them, because we've seen whoever takes Twisted Fate wins. Whoever has the global presence on this champion is winning games. Senkex can play it. Fnatic Rising have a decision to make right here. Do they want to ban the Twisted Fate out or do they not? Because if they don't, I'm pretty sure Riddle will insta-lock it first pick.
And that's the question, isn't it? Like, will Riddle go for this Twisted Fate first? We've seen Gangplank and TF first, but because the Cartha's got removed now, we've got the Volley Bear still available, which means Riddle deciding Volley is their pick, and now we'll probably see Fnatic getting the Twisted Fate themselves.
And you have to take the Twisted Faith almost now here, because if you give the Volibear Twisted Faith composition to Riddle, they will just destroy the map. And we have seen them use this composition multiple times beforehand. So I can only expect Fnatic Rising to grab the Twisted Faith. But I'm expecting Riddle to have another ace up their sleeve going into this matchup, because they know the Fnatic is going to pick this. Question is, are they going to answer it with a Seer again, or are they going for another kind of pick that they want to dominate with?
This is so strong picking the set right here. I'm guilty. I've been watching a lot of LCS and a lot of LCS Academy. And usually the trade that you will see a lot in the LCS is that Volibear will go through, they'll give it to the blue side, and then they will counter pick it with set. And what that means is that the second the Volibear flies in, usually the team is piling behind him to try and get into the team fight. And while they are piled on all together trying to follow the Volibear, you just grab the Volibear and just dunk him back into his entire team. And I've seen a lot of wombo combos happening over in NA with that. And I like the fact that Fnatic are picking it, because it's not just that, it's also a counter pick. Yes, a Sylas.
We just got the three-way suplex train going on right now. Like, the Volibear jumps in, the set then ults the Volibear, the Sylas steals the set ult and ults them back. And now we need like a Malphite to be picked as well, to get like everyone just ping-ponging back across the battlefield as quickly as possible.
You see them back and forth, like flying at each other.
While that is a funny idea to entertain, I think it's purely for actually having that Twisted Faith ultimate at the same time. With a champion like Sylas, you have availability for the global yourself. If you think Twisted Faith is so good, now you have the Sylas to actually follow him. Obviously, the cooldown is fairly long, and Twisted Faith will have more agency in actually doing his ultimate, but there will be a follow-up here with the Sylas, and this is an interesting matchup we're going into.
I mean, the thing here is, even if you can only steal it for a while and then you have to wait, you still have your teleport, right? You can find other ways that you can get back into the lane. And remember, the Azir couldn't follow at all last game, and then he was still relevant. He was still able to pressure that lane. So I think I love the idea of the Sylas here, because Medic talked about a Malphite, and Riddle have yet to pick their bot lane. Fnatic have completely erased both of the mobile champions that could potentially play down the bot lane. So we're talking about an immobile ADC for Raya that could be punished from a Malphite, and Sylas is great at stealing these AP scaling ultimates from tanks and using them to deal a ton of damage for himself.
I'm actually a bit worried that... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Medic.
No, you go ahead, mate. You have more analysis than I do.
I'm actually a bit worried that the Ezreal didn't go to Ray. I think that would have been a champion that would have been way better for them to do what they actually want to do on the Riddle lineup. Instead, they went from the Nautilus, meaning that we are looking for engage, specifically in the bot lane too, where we want some agency with another AD carry, which would mean that they are still looking to make plays with this bot side. And I just would have loved for them to be the Ezreal kind of pick instead, rather than that.
I agree with you. I think Caitlyn is the obvious pick to me in terms of just strong AD carries. My only real concern for Riddle is like their ranged wave clear.
Yes.
Oh God, no.
Yes,
okay.
this is a Raya pick. Yes.
That doesn't make it good. Just because he's picked it before, it is not a good pick.
No.
They have no ranged wave clear.
This is
if they get died, they are
pick.
destroyed. Like this, I really dislike this Riddle composition. I think this is really weak, and if they ever fall behind, they're going to struggle so
He's
hard.
molding.
I'm not molding. I just think it's a bad pick.
Yeah, well, it is a Ray
Yes,
pick,
a
by the way. It is a Ray pick. I mean, if there's an AD carry in this league that will play Vayne, it is Raya. Like he will slam that, and you know he will have the high level practice needed to operate it. But we saw it in the last year in last split in the Nordic Championships when it was like do or die time. Raya just locked in Vayne. Like that was just how it happened. So maybe that's that situation versus Fnatic. Now at least it gives them a win condition, I suppose. You know, some element of win condition here.
I just like that they've actually given agency to the mid lane and top lane as well. Gangplank is pretty easily blind pickable into anything. He can have a pretty good time versus the Vladimir. They both sustain, they both deal damage with the range. And also the Sylas has a lot of kill pressure onto the Twisted Fate. He's going to struggle a little bit in the early game because range versus melee, sure. But he does have a lot of kill potential together with the Volibear. Whilst Raya is on a champion that he feels comfortable on. And this is very key. It doesn't matter. I understand where Medic is coming from composition wise, but I think at this point when you see the Riddle bot lane struggling so much to find their footing, it is so important to get them on a super comfortable champion, and Raya is the most comfortable on the Vayne.
And I'm just quickly going to say, I'm a Nordic resident.
Denmark?
I watched the NLC. Oh. Yeah, no. I watched the Nordic split last split, obviously. We didn't have any academy teams. It was SNG versus Vipers. This is by no means the same matchup you're going into. Ray locking Vayne against Vipers back then, and Ray locking it against Fnatic in a best-of-3 series in the upper bracket here is completely different, and I agree with Medic. I know it's a comfort pick, and comfort means a lot, but I'm just afraid that Fnatic is just going to be able to dive that bot lane over and over and over again with the Twisted Faith.
Wait, the guy has been dying continuously. Cut him some slack. He just wants something that he knows he feels good to press the buttons on.
What?
Take it away, Scandal. Just
yeah,
go.
guys, I'm gonna close this one here. I will say that Gulbug did mention that when Riddle found their win versus XL earlier in the split, there was Raya on Vayne, so there is maybe something to be said for that. Let's see if he can back it up, if he can walk the walk as well as talk the talk as we get into game.
Something tells me that the desk weren't particularly fond on the Vayne pick.
It was divided. Well,
yeah. What do you make of the Vayne pick, Orcs? In your opinion, you know, you're the ones that matters to me the most. What do you
Not
think
a fan.
of Vayne?
I think the bot lane 2v2, I think it works because I think it's good in Ezreal, as obviously you can actually outpush an Ezreal if you're consistently using the tumble, or at least match him, because he's not got that same pushing power the picks have. And you can actually duel him quite effectively. You can chase him down with your ult, you can dodge his mystic shots. And into a set, you can obviously use your Condemn to maintain difference. That's fine. But then I look at a composition with a Twisted Fate, and I look at how good Fnatic have been at setting up those early win conditions around bot lane. And I just think you're going to get beaten up. You're going to get bullied. You're going to get knocked around, and you're not going to come out of this happy and smiling. So I am concerned. We need a miracle game for the bot lane of Riddle if they're going to survive this one. And we haven't seen that so far this series.
Yeah, we do. Right. Well, we're loading through onto the riff. We did have a minor pause before we get going into this game. But looks like we are all set to go. I'm pretty excited about this one. I said I wanted to see Fnatic get pulled into the mud, and I feel like a Silas Vayne is definitely going to pull Fnatic into the mud, or it's going to get rolled. It's just going to get hard rolled. It's one of the two, right?
I feel like Riddle have just head first dived into the mud, and like they're waiting to see if Fnatic will follow them, but I don't think they have yet. So they're just watching Riddle roll about a little bit, and
standing on the high ground, looking down at them while they're just rolling around in the mud.
Literally. Well,
it's good for your skin, Fnatic. Get in the mud.
Let's see if they're gonna, because they're gonna go for a level 1 invade potentially, but it feels like Riddle kind of sniffed this out because they did see the same thing happen last game on the Twisted Fate. Obviously, that was playing towards Doxy, but they know they're here, and now Fnatic know they've been spotted. Essentially, you need to just give up the ground. It does look like Fnatic will back away, having been scouted out, and in return, Maxi's able to get a ward down on the red, so ultimately positive for Riddle in that situation.
And Fnatic use their sweeper, so that ward is going to stick. Does mean they have a little bit more vision to work with early on. As Fnatic, actually, they did this last time. After the invade, they moved as a group. And actually, they're doing the old loopy-loop.
Yeah, going for the second one. I mean, again, they have the Twisted Fate. They want to play around the strength of the champion.
Looks
like they're going for the late invade. Looks like they're going to go in for the late invade in this situation. Play it slow. Riddle are defending, though. There's 4 members here. They have a lot of CC and actually a decent level 1, so they're backing away, giving Fnatic space, but they can turn this around. It's 5-4 now in favor of Riddle.
Oh, there's the hook onto Bravado. Bravado gets the face breaker off. Red card comes in. Bravado flashes away as he's being ignited. Fnatic continuing to fight for this red as Senkux jumps in with the chain lash, connects it onto Dan. Dan now has to run away from Riddle. Here's the flash, here's the hook. The flash comes down, and Dan is outie. Teleport's going to get used topside as Doxy goes back to join Pride.
But if the late play there, and honestly, it's pretty even in terms of summoners. You know, TP, Flash, Ignite Bin on the side of Riddle. And we see Ghost and 2 flashes on the side of Fnatic. So we'll see how that pans out. Often with early summoners being burned, I talk about, right, who's going to get the benefit. Often depends on who makes the ganks to punish that. But critically, we see Doxy struggling now in the top lane. He missed the wave initially. Pride was there early, and he's had to burn the TP. And this is a good matchup for the Vladimir. But, I mean, not if you do that.
No, it's not Pride. He's so low. What are you doing? He finds first blood.
He doesn't even let me finish my sentence, and he's just running it down. I mean,
Sorry, what were you saying, Dan?
It is legitimately a good matchup. I mean, you want to go for round 2?
He just got half health.
Is it every time I say this is a good matchup for Vladimir, he dies? Is that how this is going to work? But I mean, we're going to see a replay here, and it's just Pride stepping up, taking a barrel combo, getting the trial by fire, and then Doxy chases the flash. I mean, yes, if you do that, it's a bad matchup. If you literally run it down, then it doesn't work as a matchup. But critically, the reason Vladimir usually does well... I mean, I don't know why I'm talking. There's more action going on.
They're pulling them into the mud. This is what I wanted to see. Flash fun by Major Felix. He is able to get away, though.
So... finish my point. Normally, Vladimir does well in this matchup because he can farm up safely from a range, and he scales incredibly well, and he's happy into the gangplank. This doesn't work if you decide to try and 1v1 him and take barrel chains and get beaten up. So, you know, there's definitely a skill level. I think everyone's seen when like a challenger player plays a losing matchup against like a gold player and wins. Essentially, Pride played that like a gold player and he got punished for it. But Doxy, now with the Executioner's calling, is actually caught up in levels. He's feeling pretty comfortable in a situation I was worried about because you were down TP and you're late to lane, but apparently that just doesn't matter. So analysis, I'm throwing out of the window. It's just a fiesta for now.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Maxi just constantly hunting Dan down. Dan has been spotted out, but Bravado's waiting in the wings. You can actually see the base coming in from Maxi, so they have that information to work with. And Xman is just trying to farm up. Was it there's 2 items on the Ezreal? Curious to see if we see the Iceborne build come out from him, as Fnatic are actually looking to X-Flash over the wall. They're just dashing in. Bravado chasing Wendelbow down, does get slowed down by the Rupture. Condemned into the wall.
And this is the strength of the Vayne in this 2v2 matchup, is that there's not too much threat from Maddie. You can dodge the Mystic shots. The Condemn, great at dealing with the set. So ultimately, I like the pick in this regard. My concern for it becomes when we hit level 6, because I fully expect to see Twisted Fate turning up in the bot lane and bullying out Rai. And if you actually look, the wave state for Fnatic is so good. They've kept it frozen in front of the tower for such a long time. And it means that Rai is permanently in an uncomfortable position. He's having to walk up to contest his wave, and he's constantly under threat from ganks. It's like now they're finally getting some wiggle room to actually push the wave out, but definitely a precarious position to be in for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. As Magic Felix goes back to base, gets the Catalyst finished up for himself. Wave is finally broken, but once this wave is thinned out, Xmadi actually will just be up significantly over Ryan CS. Providing he farms this wave well. Senkux does have a pretty big wave crashing into him, and Maxi actually looking to jump onto onto Magic Felix. I've got to stop getting those two muddled up. But he has a gold card to cycle through, so he'll be okay. And now Magic Felix has that prior, remember, in the mid lane, so they're just actually going to go for the challenge. Maxi, this is a little bit too greedy, buddy. Going to get caught out. Magi pops the ghost, and he's just looking to run him down. Has that gold card ready to fire. Stencock steals away the ultimate. The cannon barrage is going to come down. Maxi gets the shield off onto himself for the moment. It's Dan taken down at a 1-for-1 so far. Stencock's chasing for a little bit more. Magi's going to get the gold card, get the blast cone, but Doxy shoots him in the head and secures the kill.
I'm not sure what I'm more speechless at. The fact Maxi just ran in when he knew he didn't have mid lane priority and there's a Twisted Fate in a Graves, or the fact that that worked. I mean, Senkux joins in, he's level 6, steals away the Graves ultimate before even Dan has it and manages to turn around. Honestly, questionable decision by Maxi, but it does pay off. And with the roam from Doxy to pick up the return kill, they actually managed to trade it up in that regard. So this is literally, right, Game 1, we saw Riddle make some beautiful decisions that led them to a massive advantage. This is not that. This is Riddle just forcing and it's working. This is them dragging them down into the mud. Looks like you're right, Jake, and ultimately it's working so far.
It's working for Riddle. Not working for Fnatic, though. Fnatic, they are in the mud, and they need to get a bath, clean up their play. Magic Felix still hasn't hit 6. That was the key point you were talking about. That's where you worried for Ryan Wendelboe bot lane.
And actually,
Magic Felix finally hits that level 6 mark.
This looks a bit like deja vu just because of the wave position. Senkux has kept this wave here for such a long time, and it's so dangerous when you're against a Volibear and a Silas, both of which have good gap closers, have CC. Magic Felix is still flashless. It makes it very difficult for him to step up, and now he is. There's a potential for Maxi to find a way on this. Like, double stuns is very threatening to an immobile champion like Twisted Fate.
And he has no flash, remember. Does have that gold card, though, just to send Maxi's packing. But the wave is not in a good state for Magi if he wants to go for the Destiny play bot lane. So for now, he's just going to try and fix it.
It's fine at Destiny because it's pushed up. But the problem is, like, if you want to contest the wave, you're in an uncomfortable spot. And you will end up inevitably missing out some farm from roaming. But Senkux going in there, but Magic Felix comes out worse in the trade and is starting to look a little bit rough in this mid lane matchup. Remember, Senkux can steal that Destiny away and also join a bot lane play if he needs to. And what I like to see here is Wendelboe and Maxi moving together to secure vision. In game 2, I criticized Wendelboe for this. He went alone and died. So far, hasn't died once this game, so already a big improvement.
Also, look at Riddle's positioning now. They've got control of the river. They're going to be able to take this this dragon nice and early. Maxi level 6 with a Stormbreaker can turn the towers off. And that is something you do need to be careful if you're Fnatic, because Xmadi, he is safe. He has got that shift, but where's he going to shift to if his tower gets turned off? If Stencox, if Wendelboe, Ryle jump onto him, he's not really going to have anywhere to go. But for now, they're just happy taking the dragon, and Fnatic just looking to see if they can get a bit of a reset off. Maddie has got the Tear of the Goddess stacking up for himself, so hasn't got as much raw power as Rai has at the moment.
And I'm actually legitimately starting to get a little bit worried. Oh, as I'm saying this.
Yeah, Doxy will take a bit of damage from the ketchup puddle as Pride looks to chunk him down. He's able to disengage out, though.
Yeah, and it's a bit of an awkward timing, but actually Cannon Barrage can get thrown down here to clear it out, but it looks like Doxy's just going to be able to walk up. Herald is up and available. We've seen very late Herald priority this series. Often we see teams swapping at, the 7-minute mark to try and get there in advance. Here, we're seeing it just start up the 9 minutes. The swap yet to come in. So, Rai's going to get some alone time bot lane, picking up some plates. But question's going to be, will Riddle still look to contest his Herald without their Vayne here?
Destiny's going to get used, and Fnatic, they're looking to commit. Pride's made his way over. Remember, doesn't have the Hemo Plague available to him. Stencox Actually was the one with the Destiny there. So Magic Felix still got his. That baited me a little bit, actually, seeing the Destiny pop.
Stolen Destiny, yeah. It was just the vision. They kind of realized we're not going to play into this, but this has allowed Riot to get a lot of free time bot lane and pick up these 2 plates. So definitely a nice scenario. And honestly, I'm actually starting to get a little bit worried for Fnatic Rising because I'm looking at this Twisted Fate and thinking, make an impact on the map, punish the Vayne early, look to capitalize. We've seen none of that. Riot has gone through this early game untouched and is actually up in gold compared to Maddie. The only person ahead of him is this Fed Gangplank and this Twisted Fate. So Riot navigate the early game well. Now, that doesn't mean that the threat to him is over by all means, but it's definitely a good start for Riddle. And I'm starting to get a little bit more faith in them in this game 3.
It's definitely a good bounce back for them. Level 9 picked up onto Pride, so he has the full points in the transfusion, has some cooldown reduction items as well, so should be fairly healthy in the lane at this point. 2 of the components picked up for the Triforce for Doxy. Obviously had to take a bit of a detour to go for the Executioner's Calling, but getting that first blood obviously did help him on that, so he's still pretty happy with his current position in the lane.
It's just, it becomes difficult now because you can wave clear effectively, but you can't really challenge Pride anymore just because he sustains out your damage, and it's kind of difficult for you to threaten all in. So it is where it becomes a bit difficult, especially, you know, level 9's a massive spike for the Vladimir, but level 10 you get the Transcendence cooldown reduction from your runes. So at that point you could be looking at, you know, 30, 35, 40, depending on what rune setup you have, but it's definitely going to be a considerable amount of CDR that makes it very difficult for Doxy to ever put lasting damage into you.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be a bit of a wave clear top lane, a bit of a scaling top lane. Obviously, Pride's going to want to get that. He's going to want to get towards the late game, and he should be the one that threatens Riot later.
Yeah, and it's why the Vladimir actually is good into the Gangplank, but typically you don't see the Vladimir die level 2 or level 3 or whatever it was, which was...
I believe it was level 1. No, it was level 2 because he had barrels.
Level 2 he had barrels, yeah.
Yeah, it was level 2.
So, yeah, if you don't do that, pretty good lane, in all honesty. Yet to see Magic Felix really make an impact on the back of the Roman potential Twisted Fate. So far, it's just been some heavy farming, and Riddle are fine with that. You know, as much as the top lane matchup isn't the best one, they're happy to let Senkuk scale up. They're happy to let Rai in particular scale up and just move towards those later stages. But the point I'm looking at is the 2-item spikes for Fnatic Rising. When we're talking Rod of Ages and Lichbane for Magic Felix, we're talking the Manamune and the Triforce or the Iceborne Gauntlet for Xmadi. Those are big spikes that they can look to capitalize on, and that's potentially where you can look to see Fnatic Rising really put the pressure down. They're now looking to play around mid. Dan and Bravado paired up again, and they have that Herald available.
Senkuk's got the hijack though, so can always steal away a big ultimate like that collateral damage and try to clear the wave out with that. Because now it looks like the attention's just shifting back towards this bot lane. Magic Felix got the Destiny. Look at Senkuk though, waiting for it to pop, waiting to try and interrupt him, and now he's just going to find Magic Felix. Gold card gets pulled out and Senkuk is able to disengage away, but Senkuk's just always waiting right behind Magic Felix.
Magic Felix now going for the reset. Dragon in 30 seconds, but does have that Destiny to join. Looks like they're throwing down the Herald bot lane for the pressure. This will likely only pick up 2 plates. That means they can then lean in towards the river and try and zone Wendelbow and Ray away from the Dragon. But already you can see Riddle are starting to collapse down. They're starting to contest some of this vision. 2 plates secured, but nothing more than that.
But the big thing again is Fnatic get 2 plates, but those plates aren't actually picked up for Xmadi on the Ezreal. That gold goes in directly into Dan. And Rai, he's taken 2 plates solo for himself. He has a lot of additional gold off that. So it's where this gold's being distributed as well is kind of key. We can't see the gold on your screens right now. There is a slight lead for Rai. Jungle lead that's where the gold difference is as from those plates. Now Fnatic looking to collapse onto Maxi, but they have to worry for Senkuk. Magic Felix making his way over with the gold card. Will get slowed down by the Chain Lash.
I don't think you walk that way, Magic Felix.
Yeah, that is
I mean, he gets away with it, but definitely a little bit risky in that scenario. They clear out the mid wave, but again, these teams are just fishing control over this Dragon area. And it feels like Riddle have the better stance now. They will back away from that control with not being able to clear it out. And actually, Wendelbow without any wards available might actually want to reset in this situation if they want to sort of consolidate their vision. But for now, they're just going to back away. Bravado's fishing for something here with Dan to back him up.
Yeah, X-Maddie looking to just poke a little bit of damage into Wendelbo, force him to reset. This works for Fnatic as well, because Pride's teleport's not up while Doxy's is. So if a fight is to break out in the Dragon, you've got to worry about the Cannon Barrage and Doxy joining into the fight. So Fnatic actually doing a good job to kind of force Riddle down a little bit here. Riddle just can give this Dragon up. It's only a Cloud Drake. Magic Felix will be able to Destiny a little bit more often now as Fnatic pick up their Dragon, one apiece.
And it's going to be an Infernal Soul, the perfect game for when teams want to fiesta each other, just because the extra damage makes things even more exciting. And obviously a big impactful one in the later stages of the game. So both teams likely fighting for that one. But yeah, no real need for Riddle to go for that Dragon in that situation. They kind of stayed out on the map a little bit too long, ran out of wards, had gold to spend. So they just go for the resets. And that's a trade-off. You know, there is value in resetting at a comfortable time. Enemy team goes for Dragon. You hand over, you get back on the map quickly, you're able to push up the vision, you get a bit more control. So although it looks like just Fnatic taking something for nothing, I have to emphasize that there is value in just getting back on the map with, you know, gold spent and such.
Yeah. Rise Pits displayed the Ruin King up. X-Maddie building towards, which will assume to be a Triforce, but could always be the Iceborne Gauntlet. We'll have to see where he decides to itemize now for Stenkox. Jumps on into Bravado. Bravado looks to turn it back around. Big old Haymaker shield, and now Stenkox actually hunting Bravado down. Magic Felix coming in with that gold card charged up, but Maxi may just be able to make his way over the wall, forcing Magi to flash away.
I like it though. They're playing around the Infernal Soul map. The fact that there's less terrain, you can play more aggressively in there. There's more routes to approach the enemy jungle. And ultimately, by punishing Magic Felix, getting rid of that flash, it really makes it difficult for him to step up in this situation. I like to play around mid because it makes Twisted Fate's Roman potential worse. But ultimately, the cost is here.
Oh, right. Has to pop the ulti.
I mean, you say has to. He does. I don't think he has to, but he does use it. Ultimately, Cannon Barrage is going to be thrown down and defend this tower, but it's a good move from Fnatic.
I don't think it defends it.
No, it's actually not enough. So they get the tower anyway. They just brute force it. And the pressure comes out mid from Riddle. They do manage to get the Herald on the back of that. So we do end up seeing a trade bot tower for mid tower in this situation.
Yeah, there's no way Magic Felix can be able to defend this. They may even be able to find a second charge here. Although they do move Stenkox up through the top side. They're going to try and pick up the second tower in the top lane for themselves. As Doxy's able to solo that. And Fnatic, they trade one turret for two. Gold is dead even between both of these teams right now.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that trade in this situation. Riddle feeling comfortable. And again, we talked about Fnatic Rising having the Twisted Fate, wanting to apply that pressure. Haven't really done so as of yet, but still there's an opportunity. I'm looking towards those 2-item spikes for the likes of Magic Felix and Maddie. That is when I really want Fnatic to start to challenge and come online, because if they don't, then I think they really miss the mark going later into the game.
Alrighty, Iceborne Gauntlet bit actually coming through for X-Maddie. I like it. I actually much prefer it in this game. Means he just has a bit more like kind of kiteability, survivability to him.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing
tank
for many
Ezreal,
champions, and there is a lot of AD threat on the other side. I'm kind of here and there. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Triforce just for the extra damage output and the burst potential, but I suppose your composition has a lot of damage already inherently.
That's the most feels Gangplank thing. It's so infuriating when you're playing Gangplank. You go for your big barrel onto the minions, and you're like, I got this, and they walk up and just auto-attack it.
You know, that is, Jake. That's called counterplay.
Yeah.
Wish other champions had that. Like Vladimir, I can't wait until we get the Vladimir flash ult moment where he just one-shots you, and then he ults, so you can't even do anything in response.
We've been over this in the past. I despise Vladimir. I really despise Vladimir.
You know, it's actually, I play it a fair bit. It's my noob stomper champion.
I know
like,
he's your noob stomper champion. Because you play in my noob games a bit every now and then.
True. Oh, Wendelbo. Dusty coming in.
They're going actually onto Rai. This is what you're talking about. Instantly, they just throw everything onto Magi. Magi's going low, and Rai secures the kill. Wendelbo goes golden to True Shot. Barrage misses out. Wendel's alive. Bravado looking for a little bit more. X-Maddie gets hooked on the back line. Wendel finally goes down. But X-Maddie's been mopped up. Dan's been chased out by Stenkox. Bravado can't keep him alive. Look at the healing from the Kingslayer. Stenkox finds a double kill as Doxy gets another. He's looking for Bravado, missing out on the chains. But here he goes. The shield comes down, and Stenkox will mop up a triple kill. Riddle find the ace.
An ace in that scenario, only trading down 1 death threat, is huge for Riddle. Fnatic commit to the play. Long enough have they waited. They try and get a pick on Arai, but he plays it flawlessly, using the invisibility there to negate the pressure. And honestly, I'm now feeling like I'm a believer in the Arai vein, because that was so stellar, and the rest of the team came to clean up. So let's have a look at this, and you can see they want to go for Rai, but the invisibility means he can't. He finishes off Magic Felix solo, and then they can't actually get access, even though the rain gets dumped in, uses the invisibility, kites away, and there just isn't quite enough damage to take it out. And then on the rest of the fight, Senkux and Doxy, these solo laners we highlight, they come in, they're there to clean up the fight and able to pick up all of these kills. Honestly, Riddle, I was a bit concerned after seeing this draft, but they are playing this flawlessly, and Fnatic are really missing the mark. We said we wanted to see them looking to apply pressure with a Twisted Fate. The first real attempt they get, they just botch completely, and now the fight coming in for this dragon. Some poke comes out from Fnatic Rising, but Riddle having just won that team fight are 3,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and Senkux actually steals away the ulti from Bravado. Has that showstopper to work with. Fnatic, they are committing to this dragon. The blind goes on to Rai. Bravado steps forward. There's the Hextech GLP. As the True Shot Barrage does do a little bit of poke, and Fnatic are going to be able to pick this. No, they're not. Rai steals the dragon. Senkux may be able to come over the wall. The cannon barrage has been thrown down. Rai actually is going to get stunned up. X-Matty's able to get the kill. Watch for Senkux, though. Looking for the slam, the suplex down. Senkux gets taken out, and Fnatic looking for their shutdowns, looking for their chase as the slow lands onto Wendelboe. Able to get the hook off for the moment as the barrels will chunk X-Matty out. But here comes the Destiny. Here comes Magi, forcing Wendelboe to flash as he has to use a blue card onto Doxy. Fnatic lose the dragon, but win on the fight.
But it's not by a massive margin. They only end up trading 2 for 1 in favor of them. So honestly, I feel like Riddle came out more favorably, but we once again see the clean team fighting for Fnatic Rising that they consistently love to display, and that is what found them the advantage there. I will say one note, the shutdown on Senkux pretty valuable in that scenario. So we see that play again, and ultimately Fnatic once again grouped up heavily. They don't let anyone actually find that approach, and when they do push forward, Senkux is on the flank to the side. They back away, kite it back. Anyone from Riddle stepping forward takes a ton of damage, and it's just this consistent ebb and flow from Fnatic Rising where you struggle to find someone isolated, and when they do finally look for Bravado, Senkux has to dive in and goes down. It's just textbook Fnatic Rising team fighting, the way they move as a whole, as one person almost, with a sort of super good synchronization between them.
Oh, Bravado, you're probably dead, my dude. Yeah, you're dead. That is a 6-1 Silas from Senkux.
Yeah. You know, Bravado not having the best game, in all honesty. As much as Fnatic had a great team fight there, individually, he's kind of doing a Wendelboe cosplay.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Cool.
Magic Felix able to dodge away from Wendelboe, and X-Matty chunks out him a little bit.
Does go for the hook, doesn't quite connect, and you can definitely feel like Fnatic have gotten a little bit more pressured in the recent moments. It definitely feels like they're trying to force these players because they're concerned. These solo laners from Riddle have really come online, and we talked about Pride being able to scale up into Doxy, but Doxy has found so much impact in these team fights. Senkux as well now, an absolute monster. And
I want to take a little look at X-Matty's itemization here. He's got a blasting one.
Yeah, so I've seen a bit of this. Third item, Leandries for the Ezreal.
Oh, okay.
A little bit here and there. Essentially just gives you a lot of poke on your build and the ramping damage. I mean, the main thing with Leandries is the madness, right? That is the main thing that you're looking for, is the madness passive. So in an elongated fight, you have you've built up your attack speed. You've also built up that madness passive. And on top of that, the AP isn't awful for Ezreal. It's not like really bad. I know that typically X-Matty was always a big proponent of the old AP hybrid Ezreal build.
I remember the clip.
Yeah, so big fan of that. And in this situation, essentially, I'm not a huge fan because you already have a lot of AP damage, but he's just trying to provide that sort of extra level of poke. And also in the elongated fights, he will start to put out a lot of damage.
All right, we'll have to see how that works out for him as Bride's going to shove in the bot lane. Doesn't actually have a tower to take here. So just going to try and catch himself some farm. He's got the Spellbinder and the Zhonya's Hourglass available to himself. It's Fnatic. You got a minute 30 until this next dragon's up, and we expect to see some action break out around there. right now with the Guinzoos is actually very scary. The ability to take these Barons very quickly is there for Riddle. So it's always something that Fnatic have to be very much aware of. And you can tell that because they've got 3 blue wards in their infantry.
Yeah, I mean, they want to be able to keep checking it because it can be rushed down. The Volibear, great at tanking it. And ultimately, this isn't quite the point where I'm feeling confident in Rai, because you got some nice 2-item spikes from Maddie and Magifelix. Really, this is the core for Vayne. This is like your damage output, but the survivability is yet to be there. Normally, we see 3rd item. You're looking at things like potentially the Phantom Dancer, the Death Dance, you know, maybe a QSS. Things like that are where I see Rai really being able to output a lot of damage in the team fight, because he has the defensives to back up any situation he could potentially find himself in to an extent. So at the moment, yes, the damage output is there, but it's really whether or not Fnatic can find a kill onto him. Now, Maddie's going to TP in. They are posturing for this dragon in 30 seconds. Would be 3rd for Riddle, so likely going to see a big fight coming out here. And right now, Riddle have priority on the bottom side river area. They have the control. With Fnatic having the scuttle, they're not too scared. Engage might come in.
Yeah, they're just going to Stormbringer instantly. True Shot Barrage cuts through X-Manny's health bar. He loses half of it already. Maxi gets taken down, but in comes Pride. Has to use the Zhonya's, throws down the puddle, tries to get a bit of healing off. X-Manny uses his own True Shot Barrage as Riddle actually do lose a lot of health onto Rai, and Fnatic are just going to step away as Magifelix looks in with a gold card and the Destiny, but not going to be able to find it ultimately. So Fnatic go 1 for 1, but they still don't actually get a grip hold on this river. They are slowly going to make their way back into it, and Riddle, they decide to step away.
Not sure about this decision. I think Riddle can just fight them, honestly. They should move back. Yes, it's 4v5, but the health bars on Fnatic are a little bit low. I think you take this one.
They're going for it. Danny Salander Smite is able to do it this time. Hook lands onto Magifelix. The gold card's available. Look for Senkux on the flank. He's hunting down X-Maddie. Throws the GLP down, but it's already a double kill picked up for Dan. And now he's hunting Roxy down. Doxy has to use the Tangerine to keep himself up as Fnatic hunting for Doxy. 1 more gold card as Magifelix secures the shutdown for Fnatic. 5 members strong, and they are barreling towards the Baron.
Yeah, ultimately a bad approach from Riddle. Yes, they still had strong members, but Doxy was late to the fight. Rai got taken down almost instantly with 2 people in the fight, and now it's trying to stop this Baron from happening. Maxi is there, can steal this. Senkux though in trouble.
Yeah, he has the collateral damage. Does land it onto Dan and X-Maddie. Baron slowly but surely being taken down. Maxi doesn't have flash, doesn't have ultimate, and Pride is going to zone him away, but Fnatic's health bars are low, and look for the flank from Senkux. He's going to try and get himself into the pit, jumps in, it's going to go golden instantly. Baron's picked up for Fnatic. Maxi zoned away, and Fnatic find the shutdown. Magifelix securing the kill. Maxi on the run from Pride as he turns into a little puddle. And Maxi should fall slowly to Pride, although he does have the Thundering Claws to get the smooth speed off. They're going to use everything to actually find him.
Yeah, why not?
Magi gets a killing spree.
And at this point, really starting to get concerned for Riddle because they completely botched that. Their approach to the team fight, a little bit messy. Maxi engaged too far ahead, but then they had a chance to still fight it. And it was just Rai and Wendelbo went in too far ahead of everyone else. So we're going to see the replay there. And you just see there's 2 members going into 4 right now. Senkux isn't there yet. Doxy isn't there yet. And by the time they arrive, those 2 are already down. So that was the critical mistake. And again, it's Fnatic working as one unit, sticking close together, and Riddle end up getting caught out on their approach. So despite the fact potentially they could have taken the fight, they lose it. They lose a ton of gold to Fnatic Rising. We're now 3,500 ahead, and the Baron is in Fnatic's hand.
The Leandri's been picked up for X-Maddie. Actually saw how much damage he did with the true shot onto Rai a little bit earlier ago. Actually is doing a fair amount of damage. So I want to talk a little bit about this build. So what is the next item we expect to see on X-Maddie?
Ultimately, I think it's really just the Leandri's is the key, like, 1 AP item. It's a bit similar to how you see the Gangplank picked up. Oh, seen Engage come in here.
X-Maddie's able to disengage. Cannon Barrage comes down, and Magifelix is taken down. TP's into the middle of the team, and Senkux uses the GLP. Fnatic have to flash away. There's an easy picking there for Riddle. Very greedy Destiny by Magifelix. Will lose his life as Pride is on the flank, has spotted out Senkux.
Just a good engage, honestly, from Riddle, and the Baron push has been negated now from that pick, showing the engage tools you can have, and when Riddle are grouped, it can be strong, but Senkux will have to run away here. Maddie will pick up that blue buff in this situation.
Maddie is doing a lot of damage. He doesn't have that flash. Doxy has to be a little careful as Fnatic can cut through him fairly quickly. Fnatic looking to take down their last tier 1 tower in the top lane. Pride has the Baron minions to work with, so they should be able to get this. I say last, actually, mid is still fairly healthy, standing top in the mid lane. As Dan's looking for Wendelboe. Wendelboe may just find himself caught out as he gets face breakered back, and that's an easy kill for xMaddy. 5-1 on the Ezreal right now.
Yeah, doing a lot of work, a lot of damage. And ultimately, he's got his core items, he's got his execution as his stopwatch. He's really hard to challenge now. Pride going to get ulted by his own ult from Sankux, but ultimately Pride is just able to back away. And Fnatic, although it was delayed by their pick, they will continue their push with the Baron. Essentially, Riddle is not really able to do much in contested. A lack of wave clear, a massive thing on this comp.
Yeah,
now,
Destiny in right. Oh, they didn't have the gold card.
That was the wrong color, Magi. A little bit of colorblind, it feels, after playing so much solo queue, because I think a yellow card would definitely mean that Rai goes down. He just had the QS test, actually, so
it wasn't up,
maybe not,
only
but he
just come up. And oh no, Pride is getting chunked. Cannon Barrage is thrown down. He uses the Blood Puddle to keep himself up as Stenkux. Slowed down by the Iceborne Gauntlet. Fnatic able to disengage.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the timer, they weren't completely recognizing that with regards to the QSS, but ultimately I feel like you go for the stun card, you force the QSS, so who knows, maybe it was a decision, maybe it was a mistake, but either way, we do see Riddle able to just force them away without the base being broken. Now it's 30 seconds on that dragon, and Riddle are the ones with control of this area, so they've got the vision control down. It's going to be up to Fnatic to push into this area and try and contest this.
Also, look how huge Doxy is right now. He's got almost 300 CS. He's got the Sterix. He's got Death Dance. He's got Triforce. That is an incredibly large gangplank. Pride building towards his death cap. Also got pretty farmed up as...
xMaddy with the Zhonya's as
actually,
well.
as Zhonya's for xMaddy. He is committing to the AP build, but also committing to a bit more survivability. Fnatic now just going to brute force their way through into this pit. Doxy just being chased down as a two-shot barrage will connect onto Doxy. Going to do a fair amount of damage onto him, force him to get the Steric Pock already. xMaddy just hunting him down, forcing the flash away. Pride comes in over the wall, and xMaddy with the Leandris burn is able to get it. Pride Hemo Plagues out and will heal back up to full health. And I hate Vladimir so goddamn much.
I caught you off guard. I just saw the number 1200. I'm like, what? What? Isn't he have Abaddon's yet? I mean, at this point, I think Pride's really hit the late game. xMaddy opting into the Zhonya's second. I've never actually seen the AP build go much further back than the Landry's. Typically, they just pick up things like Death Dance, but he is committing to that defensive. Now, Fnatic, they're feeling strong. It's 5v4. They're just going to push up a lucky challenge here.
Yeah, true shots there for Sankux. He's going to land it onto Dan. True Shot comes down. I actually think xMaddy does more damage with his True Shot than Sankux does. Normally, in this case, because of the AP scaling Sankux has, it would be more Sankux favored. But I think xMaddy's damage is just kind of crazy right now. He's just going to... Oh, my lord. Bye, Rai.
Goodbye.
Rai just got popped. And Magic Felix is going to Destiny in. Not use his gold card this time. And that's an open inhibitor in the mid lane. Fnatic, they just be looking to close this out. They have only picked off one, so looks like they're going to back away. Baron's spawning up soon. Fnatic not willing to overstep.
Yeah, and I think it's respectful. You got what you wanted. You got the mid inhibitor. You got a couple of kills as well. You're feeling comfortable now. And honestly, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned for Riddle. This Vayne not able to find much headway in the fight as of yet. Pride, too much of a threat. And this is really, it's a long investment with the Vladimir. You pick it in the Gangplank for it to get to this point. This is where it pays off, when it becomes just overpowering. And Doxy wasn't really able to do much to shut it down earlier. Now, like, looking to potentially threaten here. There's a flank.
Oh, they're coming in. Gold card does land as they get the Tangerine off. xMaddy goes golden as everyone tries to turn onto him. xMaddy has to flash away. Death charges in. Stenkux slams down, and xMaddy is down. That's a kill for Stenkux. Magic Felix looking to mop up the rest of the fight, though, as Dan gets himself a double kill. Able to take down another one, as it's a triple kill for Dan. The suplex is there, and Magic Felix mops up the last kill. Fnatic find 4.
And Bryce just watching. You need to go for the hero play if there's any time you want to see a Vayne 1v9.
He's done it. He's popped the ultimate.
He's clearing the wave.
He's actually... This is really big brain. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's a Destiny. Rai, you're dead.
Oh, yep.
Use the tumble. He's
Adios.
dead. Oh, no. Oh, it fell apart in the last moment for Riddle. They had a good start.
I think that's 150 Vayne spawn points for that one there.
Yeah, that was that's just one of those days. Fnatic step into the base as they book themselves a ticket into the winners bracket finals. 34 minutes on the clock. 2-1 over Riddle.
And ultimately, we saw a Fnatic that was challenged, particularly that game 1. And even in this game 3, it wasn't completely clean. There were definitely moments, and they did have to sort of resort to their solid team fighting to come through in a lot of scenarios. So definitely tested, but Riddle not quite offering enough to be able to win out this matchup. I think I have question marks about the bot lane, and I think they should just lean more heavily on their solo laners. When their solo laners are allowed to flourish, they do a ton of work. In that game and game 1, they were absolutely on form, but unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. And Fnatic, not really surprisingly, end up going up to face off XL. It's that time and time again matchup that we do see, but they were forced to bleed a bit at least. So there is something there to take away from Riddle. And I think they will go down the lower bracket, but this is an opportunity for them to continue to grow and potentially make their way back up to challenge once more, because definitely that game 1 was a really convincing performance from Riddle. And if they can aspire to make every game like that, we could see them actually challenge the academies and beat them out in series.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, I mean, while it was a loss, I think Riddle really impressed me in that game. For me, Bravado and X-Maddie, I don't think that was particularly the cleanest series from them. And now they're in the winner bracket final. They have to take on Deadly and Kasing. This is going to be a really tall challenge for them. And I'm actually really excited to see the XL versus Fnatic. We haven't had it all season long, and we're finally getting to go back to that kind of famous matchup we've had in the UK scene. Now that we're in the Northern League.
Just quickly, Pride, honestly, I've been a bit of a critic from him from when he joined the team, because I didn't think like he was making a big impact, sometimes looking off. He was really on point in the series. We'll ignore that time he got solo killed by the Gangplank. For the most part, his team fighting was stellar, and he came in clutch when it mattered. Particularly his Kennen is really on point. So I think he fits well with the team because he offers that scaling option that they can lean on later. So when they missed out on the Twisted Fate win condition, it didn't matter so much that they weren't getting the roams of the bot lane punished, because eventually Pride became an absolute monster in these team fights. And I think I have to highlight that he has grown a lot as a player on this roster, and I think he's found his place on it, and he provides a valuable tool when they get later on.
I honestly think it's been a really good season from Pride overall. I think the entirety of the season has been really stellar from him, and it's good to see that there's been some growth from him, because I think your criticisms of him were fair. And yeah, it was just a good season overall. Now, guys, we are going to cut to a quick break, but when we're back, we'll have our analyst desk break that down. And actually, Scoundrel will have Pride standing by for an interview to get to hear from a man in the top lane. We'll see you after this break.
birds sing higher with the breeze. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Over the seas, the blue and the green. You got the power. You show the way. You got the power. That's so great. Over the seas, the blue and the green. The air I breathe. You give to
Well, it's what felt like the expected result, but the way that we got there was not expected at all. That was a very close game, but a couple of throws from Riddle kind of let Fnatic back into the game.
Okay, so there's two things that are exciting about this game. One, Fnatic bleeds. Two, we can see the way that Fnatic can bleed. Three great things. Riddle was 2v8 the entire of this series. I feel like solo laners were spot on for Riddle, but the rest of the team was just not on the same level, unfortunately. And collectively, Fnatic as a team were able to group up and do the job better than Riddle. At the end of the day, in the last game, I feel it came to Fnatic realizing, okay, who's carrying? Who's been carrying for Riddle all these 3 games? The solo laners, who particularly Doxy. In past 3 fights of this last game, we saw Doxy getting picked off before the fights even started. Fnatic completely focused, laser focused onto getting Doxy down, and they knew that would win them the fight, and that won them the game.
I also believe that they started to be more exposed in the mid to late game. You could obviously see that a lot of them were on comfort, especially, you know, Doxy getting the solo kill against Pride, even Ray doing well with his Vayne. But as soon as you hit this mid to late game and the composition start to flourish from Fnatic, you can actually see that their composition is just superior. The Vayne didn't really fit into the composition. Really easy to get that pick. Doesn't help when you fail the QSS too. Makes the job even harder, right? And in the end, it was just up to the solo laners from Riddle trying to carry it. I think that we might as well just say it as it is. The bot lane and Maxi was underperforming a bit today, and that was really felt in their loss today.
Yeah, but you know, as we said, this is the first loss Fnatic has taken in the entire NLC, and I think realistically there are a lot of positives for Riddle to draw from this series and things that they know that they need to focus on potentially going into the next. And remember, it is double elim, so they do have another opportunity to bounce back in our elimination matches, which will be taking place tomorrow. Now, as usual, we have a play of the game. Gulborg, you've selected it. Throw it at us.
Yeah, so this is around the Baron fight that goes on to the right, where Fnatic actually gets a good pick. And I think at this point, it just displays how lost they really are. It's really hard for them to do anything at all. And reason why it shows this, not necessarily because it's a nice place, it's just where you can see that they don't know what to do anymore from Riddle. Fnatic has control of the game, and while it is a nice kill onto Bravado coming against from Senkox, it's just so easy from the rest of Fnatic to secure a lead. And it's when they get this Baron buff that their victory is really solidified. It's really easy for them to control the game throughout the rest of the game.
that was, like I said, I think it was a very, very exciting series overall. I do think Riddle in general have got a lot of really positive elements to their team that could definitely be threatening later on, especially if they get that bot lane to where it needs to be. Coming up against the likes of XL and against Fnatic again in the future, if that's how far they're going to get. But yeah, I mean, I've been pretty impressed with them throughout this series, despite the Fnatic win. This is the furthest we've ever seen Fnatic taken in a game in the NLC so far.
I think the most important thing here is that Riddle was inserted in the top 4 conversation instantly before they even entered the league. We're like, oh wow, we see the names, they're really good. And then further, when we go further and further into the league, they're like, well, if anyone is going to beat Fnatic, it might very well be Riddle, but being on the other group, we never actually saw the matchup. Now that we do see the matchup, we see that all the people that were saying that Riddle can beat Fnatic were actually true, because they did beat Fnatic and they almost took the entire series off of them. So I can't wait to see where this lower bracket gets them. And, honestly, I hope they do make it back to the finals, because they look really strong.
Absolutely. I actually have an interview standing by with not Nico de Pico. It's actually Pride. So Pride, hello, mate. How are you?
Thanks, Connor.
You good?
Good, how are you?
Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good after that win. Obviously, it was a bit of a shaky series, but a win is a win, and we'll learn from it.
Of course. Actually, let's talk about the first game. That was 2 very interesting drafts. What kind of happened that game? What do you think went wrong versus the Riddle comp?
I think initially we had a mistake in our draft. We underestimated them. We did not think that they would send the card to spot based on our research, which is a very simple mistake, to be honest. We gambled that they wouldn't play it. We assumed it was going jungle. It ended up giving them a huge draft advantage. They could counterpick our jungler. I think their Karthus lane, even though their Pantheon kind of ran it down the entire game, it made it hard for us to capitalize on these kills. So they were able to just win from their side lanes, and it was a very hard game to play, I think I would say.
The comp did look tricky to navigate, and I'll have you know, Pride, Vendelbo got a crucial stun right at the end, so he might have run it down the entire game, but he did manage to pick up that. I'm joking, of course. Obviously, then you found a way to bounce back in the second series. What did you go into? What was your kind of the discussion for the team going into that second series? What is it that you wanted to change in draft? What is it that you were changing in terms of targeting as well?
We obviously had side selection again, so we chose to go with blue again. This time we made an option to ban the Karthus to respect that they can play it in multiple roles. We also identified that TF was very crucial in the entire series even. You also saw it in the last game. Mm-hmm. So I think we identified pretty quickly that if we pick TF, we will have a way better shot at winning the game. Just in this specific series, it's not just that the champion is strong or anything, it's just that both teams really like the champion. So I think we had a very good read on that, and we managed to snowball the game and win it.
Yeah, and that last game definitely it did look shaky for a little bit in that last game. What was the turning point for you? How did you regroup in that third game and kind of find your way back into it?
Obviously I entered in my laning phase. That was not a very good game for me, but ultimately we bounced back. We were mostly just waiting for mistakes, to be honest. We were waiting for their front line to step up too far or their back line to go too deep and to just punish these mistakes. We also had a TF, which is very good into the Vayne, so it's very hard for Vayne to teamfight, I would say. So we capitalized on that, we punished that, we played with our ranged champions, we played with our invulnerable Vladimir, so to say, in the back line. Just a lot of disruption, I would say, and I think it's very hard for their draft to play into ours if we are evenly matched, so yeah.
You managed to find that turning point, of course. And now, the last question I'm going to give you, I'm sure you know what it is. You've got that match versus XL again coming your way. You and XL are going to meet in the upper bracket final. I think it's probably one of the matchups that is most anticipated. It's a big rematch for you. How do you and the team feel going into XL in that series? And kind of what is your mindset about how to tackle XL?
Obviously, we showed a lot of weakness today, I would say. Luckily, we have a lot of time to bounce back, to regroup as a team mentally, and also just talk about what went wrong and what we want to do better. Because like this, if we play like this, we're probably going to lose against XL. To be fair, XL didn't look very convincing either in their game that I watched, at least. But I think we're just going to do our own thing, as we always do. We're going to research them. We're not going to underestimate anyone. We're going to come in there confident. We're going to have good practice beforehand. And yeah.
And I think obviously you hold the head-to-head record versus them in best ofs. I think XL have failed to beat you in a best of for a long time, so it's going to be, I think, obviously weighted in your favor just based on history alone. But I'm very much looking forward to that game. Yeah, it's going to be a great series, and obviously looking forward to seeing how you guys progress through the rest of the tournament. Pride, thank you so much for joining me, mate, and I hope you rest easy and get prepared for next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Actually, really insightful from Pride there as well. You know, he was very switched on about kind of talking about the errors that they made and what they were doing in terms of draft. And it was nice to hear that they had like a really solid plan coming out of that first game.
In all honesty, I felt like Fnatic's game was more sloppy and BTXL looked more dominant. So I really want to know what mistakes and what missteps BTXL made in their own games that Pride was like, I don't necessarily think they played that great today. Because I'm like, neither did you, mate. Neither did you.
I think, well, he was, to be fair, he was very, very, open about the sloppiness of the Fnatic roster today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think XL looked better. I would say, but obviously the level of competition you could,
of course.
Yeah, you could split hairs between the level of competition that they were maybe facing up against in this particular scenario. But I think overall, XL did look the better of the two. But obviously they face each other. We'll see exactly how that pans out when we get to it next week. Let's take a look back at some of the moments from today. Medic, I want you to say a word. So how was today been for you?
I will say I have typed T in the chat a couple of times, and both times be like, we got to move on to the next thing. It's like, okay, that's fine. I thought watching BTXL earlier today, they were much more convincing, as we said, than Fnatic Rising. And after seeing Fnatic be so dominant in their group, I do wonder whether there was a bit of a group disparity, right? Riddle have really risen up in the last few weeks as a very strong team coming out of Group A. And I didn't see the same sort of power out of Tricked. So I'm wondering perhaps if just the top of Group A was a slight bit better than the top of Group B, with Fnatic being in a league of their own over there. And it does make me very excited for next week when BTXL and Fnatic Rising face each other, but it also brings into question some of the games tomorrow. You know, we've got Barrage versus Tricked, which I think could actually be really close because Barrage looked very good when we saw them yesterday. And then you've got Nordavind versus Riddle, which I think should be pretty one-sided because Riddle looked like a very strong team today.
And I completely agree with that one too. I think another factor is that they have this Sonar Lux tool in their arsenal. And we haven't seen anything like that from Fnatic today, which would also mean either you get 1 week to practice it, and that's that, or you will always have to ban it against BTXL unless you come up with something against it. So that is also something to take away from today's game. And then again, like BTXL won 2-0, Fnatic 2-1. I think it's quite easy to see who made it the easiest one.
That's how I do all my judgment. What were the results? I will analyze based off the scoreline.
Results-based analysis. We love it. Now this is time to go into our selected play of the day. And you know what time it is. It's my time to shine. Play of the day. Let's go. Please, give me the play of the day. So guys, what we're going to see here is, shut up. I'm doing it. I'm doing my analysis. Guys, I'm doing my analysis, okay? He hit the card on the person, and then, oh, wait a second, Wendelbow makes a stun happen, and oh my God, they're killing some towers. And that is how you win games of League of Legends. You hit the towers and then eventually hit the Nexus.
That was beautiful. Can we get a replay? Can we get a replay of the replay?
I think we just needed that, you know?
Can I just say, Scoundrel and I used to work together as a casting duo. He was my color caster, I was the play-by-play. And I think you can see why I was the one that progressed into going on to the LEC as the play-by-play.
I'm just going to say, mate, I have actually hosted the LEC, so it's not like I'm completely trash at what I do. I'm
just saying you're trash at what you do. I'm just saying that you're not a color caster anymore.
You feeling the tension down there, Goldball? Are you feeling the tension?
I'm going to get out of this marriage dispute. I've got enough of those sometimes in my own life, so I'm going to get out of this one on air. Let's have a look at the bracket, and we can have a look at exactly what's going on. You can see at the upper bracket final, BTXL taking on Fnatic Rising, and these are the confirmed matchups for tomorrow. Riddle versus Barrage and Tricked versus Nordavind. That is, I think, going to be a very interesting series. I think Barrage looked good, but have they looked good enough to beat the likes of Riddle? Who knows? And Trick versus Nordavind, that's another matchup that I think I couldn't. I think I'd favor Nordavind, but it's really difficult to call in my opinion.
I think that's one of the more hypes one. I think that Nordavind and Trick to me has always been the team. They were not an academy team, but they were always, and they were not Riddle or Munster, but they were the third team coming in there and fighting their way up there. And to me, they're the most similar team because they were not the teams that were hyped coming into it. They were the teams who had to fight to get up there in the standings. And that's why I think they're very similar because they are the underrated teams. They're kind of the forgotten teams that always feels like they weren't hyped up enough. But I mean, now they got to prove themselves going up 1-on-1 against each other to prove who's better, Group A or B. Let's see it.
You talk about underrated. I think I've been hyping up Trick the entire
But you have been
season.
hyping up Barrage, Eminem, and God knows from the what, all right? this
When I hype up Eminem, get out of here, Goldborg. Anyway, I've been hyping up Trick because when I see these guys on a good day, they look like a complete different team. I believed from the start. Hell, even Frost mentioned them in the LEC, okay? So give them some credit.
All right,
And
all right.
When they're good, they're good. They know their game. It's something that clicks in that mid game and it just falls apart. I want them to plug that thing back in and just continue playing their clean game. And in all honesty, I think it will be the last chance that they have to persuade people of their good team, and the last chance, of course, they will have in the tournament to remain here.
Of course, you hit the nail on the head there, Trouble. It's the last chance for these teams tomorrow. It is the elimination match for a reason. If you lose, you are going to leave that playoff stage of the NLC. Both your NLC championship hopes and your European Master spots are out the window. We will see what happens tomorrow. That is where we're going to leave it for today. Join us at the same time, same place tomorrow night for our final set of playoff matches for this week. Those two elimination matches in the bottom of the bracket. We will see you there.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here.
There's obviously one team above all, and that is Strict. And I'm telling you right now, they're gonna make finals.